up, we'll be able to find out.
Okay, give me a second. I'll call him now.
Okay, honey, thank you. But let's talk just after the show, okay?
Ukrainian officials say Russian forces are escalating their onslaught on the wrecked eastern city of Bakhmut, bringing new levels of death and devastation in the grinding months-long battle. President Volodymyr Zelensky said late on Monday, everything there is completely destroyed. There's almost no life left. The whole land too, near Solidar, is covered with the corpses of the occupiers and scars from the strikes. Russian troops, alongside soldiers from the Wagner Group, the Russian military contractor, have advanced in the region in recent days. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Canada is buying dozens of F-35 fighter jets from Lockheed Martin, each jet. I'm Rita Foley, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
We have Pastor Thurston up.
Okay. Pastor, how you doing?
Develops here for today. We'll see a high in the 40s and the southwest around 5 to 10 miles
Hello?
per hour. Gusting as high as 15. Tonight, mostly cloudy and a low near 34. By Wednesday, mostly cloudy, high 45 degrees. And on Thursday, a chance for some.
He should be on.
Okay, Pastor?
Cloudy, high around 39.
I'm here.
Okay, great. Now I need to find out if you can hear him on Facebook now, okay?
Testing.
Okay, then I think she has to come up on Facebook first.
The Parents' Choice Award winner
But
online.
it's great hearing your voice. You know what we're due.
I got him. You
Okay.
guys both sound great.
Great. You know we're due.
So much. Right now, we're offering a special.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes, so we've got a lot of things we need to do. I wanted to say something because I wanted to give you
Angie's List you know and trust is now Angie, and we're so
little
much
heads
more
up.
than just a list.
Maybe this will be
We still connect you
helpful.
with top local pros and show you ratings and reviews. Now, we also let you compare
this will be a
upfront
little
prices on
helpful.
hundreds of projects and book a service instantly. We can even handle the rest of your project from start to
Thank you,
finish.
sweetie, but I'm always glad to see
Angie's
you.
List is now Angie, and we're here to get your job done right. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
Hi, I'm Marcel.
Have you talked to my brother
Keeping our global neighborhood
since
safe.
he's been in office?
One made just a bit safer.
No, I texted him the
Reach
other
out
day,
to him.
and I never get a response back. So I want to make sure I got the right number.
Reach out to him. But you know what? Let's chat, okay?
Enemy position.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's chat. Because we're up on Facebook now.
Yet,
Oh,
when
Lord.
these brave K9
See, they found these
retire,
classified
they're not
documents
always
in
given the
Biden's
same
office.
treatment as our military VIPs.
That's going to be
Not
interesting.
too often left overseas.
No, I mean, you knew this.
American
You
humanity
know,
works to bring home
that's
these
why
valiant dogs
this gets really
and
strange
reunite them with the people
because
who mean the most to them.
so much of what a president
Their hands.
sees
So they can
is
enjoy
classified,
healthy,
you know,
Yeah.
and then it's
Learn how you can
declassified,
help America's
reclassified,
corporate
all of this. That's why I said, if you're going to go after someone, go after them on something
Because facts
that's
matter.
going to
You're
stick,
listening to
not this.
WCPT 820.
Understood.
Something like stuff y'all are pulling.
We have 3 minutes.
It's too easy to fight, you know,
Yeah.
too easy to fight. How much time do we have, hon?
My number story begins with the separation from my father and the emotional abandonment from my mother.
Oh, we have about 2.5 minutes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
I wasn't there for me.
ACEs are so common, 2/3 of us have one.
My number story begins with drug abuse and homelessness and leads to realizing that I can live life by my own standards.
A study found the more ACEs, the more likely we may experience a host of serious health effects, physical and mental. But that doesn't need to be the case. Your listening is simply an entry point to your own story. Where it leads is up to you.
My number story begins with years of emotional abuse and leads to peace, clarity, and security in my self-worth.
Take control of where your number story leads at numberstory.org.
My dad served in Vietnam, the 82nd Airborne Division. He never talked about it, and my mom knew not to ask.
Okay.
So Dad buried himself in work and self-medicated. He would lose his temper sometimes. Loud noises would put him on edge. It got rough. So I finally said to him, Dad, you gotta get help.
As a family member or friend, you may be the first to notice when a veteran you love has been going through changes. Things like withdrawing, drinking more, or increased anger could be a sign of a larger health concern, but help is available.
Dad finally went to VA for one-on-one and group therapy and got some really great tools to help him manage things. And I got my dad back.
Listen to hundreds of inspiring stories at maketheconnection.net.
Hey, how much time do we have?
Support the veterans in
Wait.
possible.
Okay. Wait a minute. I just came across something. No.
You're good. You're good. We have about
Nana, hold on. I'm sorry. Someone just called me. No. It's Manischewitz, like
Help
the wine.
Lavina and other blind people by making a tax-deductible donation of your used
Okay,
car,
now I'm about to take
truck,
my
or
earbud
almost
out,
anything
okay?
with wheels to the
Yeah,
National
that's the end of
Federation of
that.
the Blind.
Okay.
Your donation will help ensure a brighter future for blind children.
Okay.
30 seconds.
Okay, fantastic.
855-659-9314. That's
Gotta go. Love ya.
855-659-9314.
Does
Or
anyone
visit
not know that I am?
carshelpingtheblind.org.
I got a
That's
show.
Cars helping.
No, nobody knows.
No, nobody knows.
Right.
Does anyone not know?
They all just miraculously forget
Oh,
around
gosh.
6:05 every morning.
Seriously? Y'all help me.
All right, stand by.
All right, sweetie.
Change the world, change the world. We can change the world. We can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love. It's not too late. Gotta save the children. We can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey, everybody. Hey. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It is a joy to be with everybody today. On WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I'm Santita Jackson. I'm so glad to be with you today. Hope that you all are having a great day already. Rise and shine and give God your glory. It's a great day. We've got a lot to talk about. Black women and hair chemical straighteners, relaxers. So many of us get them. And we're finding there are studies that are as long as 25 years that show that it heightens the risk of uterine cancer for Black women. Yeah. Everything you put on your body, we were told to use Vaseline. Well, you might as well go on and take a bath in an oil slick in the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, got to be careful. So we're going to be talking about that with a noted cosmetologist and brilliant lawyer, attorney April Prayer, because there are now lawsuits that are being filed on behalf of women who have seen this. And then there's some women who say, I just can't quit the relaxer because this is the style that I need to wear. And, we've had lawsuits about wearing braids and wearing our hair in a natural state if it's kinky. They don't mind it as much if the curl is loose. Right, Pastor? Ooh, colorism is a real thing. Yeah, it is. And so, and we understand that. So we're going to be talking about that. And then I will be talking about the Chicago mayoral race. Of course, on January 26th, WCPT will be hosting a mayoral debate. You've got to be there. It is going to be something really, really, really special. Very, very excited about that. And then we have got to talk with John Nichols about what happened with these classified documents retrieved from President Biden's office. The office that he had, along with, I think, with Penn, that housed, a lot of his papers. It was in the office that he used post-vice presidency. And so you found classified documents there. Now, his lawyers found them, and they went to the Justice Department. So there are differences between what happened with Mar-a-Lago and all of that, but there are a lot of questions. And so we'll be talking about that. But there's also a Wisconsin state Supreme Court race We're looking at all of these progressives in Congress. There are more progressives in the U.S. House of Representatives than ever before. So can't wait to talk with our dear beloved John Nichols of The Nation magazine about that, the national correspondent. So everybody, let's get right to it. Let's get to some of these headlines so that we can get on with the rest of the show. In Chicago, it's going to be a nice day, 43 degrees, partly cloudy on Tuesday, January 10th, 2023. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 32 degrees and cloudy. College football, well, Georgia back-to-back championships, 15-0, an unblemished record this year. Congratulations to them. TCU, 65-7. It was a romp, but you got there. 13-2. And so congratulations to all of you combatants on the field of athletic battle. In the NBA, the Celtics 107, the Bulls 99. And in the NHL, the Wild will be playing the Rangers. Severe weather. More than 34 million people in the southwestern U.S. are under flood watches today as a powerful storm continues to batter California. In the past 24 hours, up to 7 inches of rain fell across lower elevations of the state. Classified documents from President Joe Biden's time as vice president were discovered in a private office last fall. Biden's attorneys acknowledged yesterday. It is unclear what the documents pertain to or why they were taken to Biden's private office at the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement, a space that the then vice president used as part of his, in his post-vice presidential life, that he used as part of his relationship with the University of Pennsylvania. House Republicans on Monday approved a rules package for the 118th Congress of what marked the first test of House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's ability to navigate his slim Republican majority. The package governs how the House will operate for the next 2 years and includes key concessions McCarthy made to GOP hardliners to secure his leadership position, including the ability for any single member to call a vote to oust him. And those are just some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. And the newly retired teaching pastor of Salem Baptist Church. He's got a lot of other great things in his future. We're very, very excited about that. But, as one door, as you shut one door, God has opened so many more for you. And you're still on Facebook Live every Tuesday at 3 p.m. And we encourage everyone to look you up. But I'm so glad, just sending all of my love. I need to reach out to Pastor Meeks and get him on here, because to pastor for 40 years and to build this mighty, mighty church, incredible. But for your father to inherit the church that has been in your family now for 3-4 generations?
Yeah, 4 generations.
Wow.
88 years.
That never happens. Of course, Pastor Steve's grandfather and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King were very, very close friends, and they had a jocular relationship. He called him boy baby because the Thurstons don't age. There you go. I'm not going to make you Dorian Gray because that's evil. But I don't age. I don't know. But it's wonderful. You don't, but you do good things. And so give us some good news today. We do need that good news. And everyone, I want you all to call me if you're getting relaxers. And if you're going to stick, if you'd rather fight than switch. If you'd rather stick with these relaxers, which are proving to be injurious to our health. We're going to be talking about that at the bottom of the hour. Pastor Thurston?
Listen, Santita, I want to celebrate the fact today and give you the good news that it's okay to embrace the new chapter. Because most people, I've tried to control many aspects of my life, and this hasn't always worked out in my favor. It's just when I thought I had it all under control, life would inconveniently show me many, many, many times that I was getting just a little bit too cocky. You name it, I've tried to control it, from my schedule and time. Hello, type A personalities, to foregoing random opportunities because my mind was made up on going in a certain direction. But now, none of these are necessarily bad. Planning your time leads to efficiency. Foregoing things because you are on a mission means you might be on the path to your purpose. But when you do these things day in and day out, all at the same time, well, let's just say the process can be stressful. But I tried anyway because I figured I might as well try to control what I could since life was going to be random no matter what. It also gave me satisfaction, almost a somewhat false sense of accomplishment, that I was shaping my own destiny. I think most of us fall into this way of thinking because we all want to foresee things before they can potentially happen in order to feel safe. But ironically, when we try to control life, we end up missing out on possibilities that may have come our way if only we let go and allow life to happen. Try as we may, we can't always control life, and sometimes painful things happen that we couldn't possibly predict or prevent. What I've learned in these situations that helps me to better cope with the unpredictability of life is that life happens for me, not to me, and that the seemingly bad or painful experiences create an opportunity for something bigger and better to take place in my life. You and I can't foresee what's coming down the road. We can only choose our attitude when we hit roadblocks along the journey, which ultimately shapes our choices. When life doesn't go to plan, we must embrace the change and realize that our lives are composed of chapters. One has to end before another one can begin. But we can't move on to the next chapter if we continually reread the old ones. We have to willingly accept that life goes on and that we have a chance to create something bigger and sometimes often something better. Our time on this earth is limited, and it consistently passes at the same speed with no bias. This means that with time, the inner turmoil you're currently dealing with, without a doubt, it's going to pass. Last but not least, before we can move on to our next chapter, we must accept what is happening in the present moment. Then and only then can we proceed forward with calmness and clarity. Now, I understand that what I'm suggesting may not be easy to digest, especially when you're in a place in life where you're hurting. But know that our lives become a lot happier when we strive to make the most of what life gives us. I'm encouraging people that are listening in today to embrace the change, whatever it is. Hold on to the notion. Life could be creating space for you to do something different, something bigger, something greater. You've made it through loss and hardship and difficult times before. What makes you think you can't now? Here's the thing, you can. You just need to remember 3 things. Life happens for your benefit, not against it. Number 2, everything heals with enough time. And number 3, it's pointless to keep resisting where life is trying to take you. The good news is that your next chapter could be even more amazing than the previous one.
I love that. I love that because I'm in a series of transitions myself in my life. And I said, wait, don't get upset about this. God could be moving you out of something and into something else. That's an important thing.
Something bigger, something greater.
Something bigger, something greater. And sometimes, what the step back is, wait a minute, you're getting ready to do something else. So you needed to transition. You look back and you get it. So, I think the thing is to get it going forward. Thank you for that. We needed that. You're going to be on Facebook Live this afternoon at 3 p.m. How can we get in touch with you? And just very quickly, what you're going to be talking about.
Sure. You can tune in Facebook Live under my name, Stephen with the PH, Stephen Thurston. And if you don't catch it live, you can always go back and catch the replay. And that's Central Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. But we're going to be focusing on taking the next step in the next chapter of your life. As I've just made a big transition, I want to help people in those transition moments in their life today.
Amen to that. Amen. 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 Ooh, love you, Pastor Stephen Thurston. Yes. Can't wait to see what is next. Everybody get the book Mirror Moments. Mirror Moments. Yes. Mirror Moments. Get the book. Go to his website. Mirror Moments. Stephen with a PH, everybody. StephenJThurston.com. Love you. You know what, everybody? Let's talk with, of course, Dr. Shanina Knighton. We're always so excited to have this brilliant registered nurse, PhD, infection preventionist. She is the executive director of the Association for Professionals in Infection Control and Epidemiology. It's the largest organization of its kind of these professionals in the world. And I wanted to ask you something. We're going to, at the bottom of the hour, talk about this study that has come out, Dr. Knighton, that shows a direct link between a heightened risk for uterine cancer and for Black women who've been using relaxers, right? And so I was reading an article last night in which a woman said, look, I'd rather fight than switch. I love my hair like this, and I'm just going to keep on going. And through our time together, it's been like 2 or 3 years, right? As we've been in this pandemic, you have said, everybody, you talk about the vaccine. I'm not going to tell you what you should do, what you shouldn't do, but what you need to understand is all that goes into your meat. You just, without knowing it, you're taking a lot of chemicals in every day. What's on your vegetables, and on and on and on. And for years, people would, our relatives would put Vaseline on us. And then, I heard from my mother, my maternal grandmother, who was very, very health conscious. God rest her soul. Said, no. She said, you just might as well take a bath in an oil slick. She said, petrol. Can you not read? All right. So what do you make of all of this? I mean, just generally speaking, it seems that we need to be very careful, Dr. Knighton, about what we put in our hair, what we put on our bodies, what we eat. I mean, but no one thinks about lotion. No one thinks about, you don't really think about a relaxer. You're just putting it in your hair.
I do. Listen, and let me tell you why I do. I'm going to be honest. It's going to sound nuts. It might not come out until years from now, but I'm sure there's some sort of link between, let's say, how men use lotion and prostate cancer. And it's not to say that that's the actual thing. It's the fact that we don't think about if there are chemicals such as BHT, which we know contains carcinogens, which are things that can lead to cancer, then we know, or like we know that it causes tumor, like let's say in mice, then those things are going to convert over eventually to an adult, right? But the problem is we tend to misunderstand the FDA's role. It's the Food and Drug Administration. So, for example, that means that people can log stuff. They log their results in regards to why their product is safety at certain amounts. But what's not studied is how that item is safe over time. And so when we think about a Food and Drug Administration, people tend to never think about the fact that it is really the secretary or the administrator, right? So if you say, I want to administer diacetyl, and I know me and you have had this conversation about, acetylmorphine being heroin, but diacetyl is in a lot of our food. I'm talking about, yes, we have heroin ingredients in our food.
Unbelievable.
And it's what makes...
when I found out that cigarettes were more addictive than certain drugs, I said, wait a minute, because we have a smoking cessation clinic at Northwestern Hospital. I had the clinician on my old show. She said, oh, no, this is more addictive than heroin. I said, cigarettes? She said, oh, yeah. They've juiced up these cigarettes to that point. It's unbelievable. I mean, pardon my interruption, but I mean, you make me aware of these things, Dr. Knighton.
Yeah, no, and the thing is I think that's what makes people make better decisions, and is when you are aware of things. Meaning, like, no one's asking anyone to be perfect. It's just knowing, and I'm going to use this analogy, but it's almost like us being crackheads and not knowing it. Meaning when somebody is like, why can't I stop eating these potato chips? Or why is it that this is so good? And oh my gosh, I got to go get another one. We never think about the addictive properties that are like literally in the substances that our food contains. And when we don't think about our food in that manner of being a chemical, our whole body is made of chemicals. Everything that is put together food-wise contains chemicals. And so when we process it in our minds that everything will have some sort of chemical reaction, I mentioned it yesterday, how we cannot cheat our bodies. Like, your body is not going to lie. If you don't get sleep, it's going to tell on you. If you eat the wrong thing, over time, it's going to tell on you. It might tell on you immediately and say that was a bad choice. But we can't cheat our bodies. And that's the thing. Once we start to really understand that, instead of saying, I'm going to have a cheat meal, you cheating your mind to thinking that it's okay. But guess what? Your body still got it. Now, whether it show up on a scale or not.
Oh, it's going to show up on that scale.
on that skin might not be right when you want to, or you might go to the gym and hit an extra couple of minutes, to say like, hey, this gonna offset it, but your body's still gonna feel it and your body's still gonna get it. So to your point, when you talk about these chemicals, yes, like we have to think about our food in that manner, understand that just because it's registered with the FDA does not necessarily mean that it's safe or it's gonna work for our bodies. And we can't assume that even too. I know a lot of people are going vegan. I know that they're saying, oh, I'm eating a plant-based diet. Many people think like, oh, well, this has to be better than meat. But if I'm eating a whole bunch of genetically modified stuff to make it taste like meat, or I'm eating a whole bunch of genetically modified stuff that's contained with chemicals, then we have to ask ourselves, is this really a better product, or am I trading one evil for another if I'm trying to get away from one thing? And that's the one thing that we really have to ask ourselves. And that does mean that when it comes to the ingredient labels on the back of stuff, stop starting at the top and just looking for high fructose corn syrup because that's what they put on our radar. Look for the BHTs, the DHAs. Look for the EDTA. Now, I'm talking about food, Santita. And remember, our bodies are going to, we're going to absorb something, we're going to ingest it, we're going to inhale it. There's about 5 different ways that our body, something can go inside of our body, right? And so to your point, when you mention lotion, when you mention, perms or things like that, like they say, you are what you eat, or your body, like whatever you put on your body it goes inside of your body. It's the same thing with your lotion. That's why when we see certain things on there that says, oh, no parabens, oh, no sulfates, oh, no this, oh, no that, they're advertising that because they know that the stuff that does contain that is going to make you sick. But it doesn't mean that just because those things are on there that they haven't traded one bad for another bad. So you then have to look for those other bads and say, do these contain ingredients that can potentially kill me? And that does mean you saying what is. You got to literally Google stuff you can't pronounce and feel comfortable that you can't pronounce it, but I can type it in on Google and see what it is and what it's going to do to my body.
Well, you know what? We're going to go to Hey Dr. Nina because I know you're going to talk about this. You've got to, everybody. Her handle is HEYDRNINA at Hey Dr. Nina. You join her and get your friends to join her. And you know what? Pass the show along. That's right here on WCPT 820 in Chicago and AM 950 radio. Let's talk about relaxers and the link between relaxers and cancer, uterine cancer in Black women. Back in just a minute. Oh, Dr. Nina, Dr. Shanina, girl. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
whoa.
crazy.
I was reading that.
Trust me. I said, no, trust me, it is crazy.
Oh, no, it is absolutely insane. Because I told you we never used Vaseline anyway. Not for that. But it's funny, though. My mother said she craved cornstarch when she was pregnant with me. And I would see cornstarch around our apartment, and I would eat it. And she was like, have you eaten something? I mean, I didn't know I just knew it tasted wonderful. Can you imagine? I mean, when my mother said no, she said, I used to eat it when I was pregnant with you. And she said, one day I came upon you and you were sitting on the bed, your legs were swinging and you were eating that cornstarch. Obviously, I was a little girl, everybody. It was like, this is nuts. Because it was impacting my digestive system, everybody. And my mother couldn't figure out with all the vegetables that she was giving us what was the problem. Cornstarch. She said, I knew you were crazy then. Honey, my mother is unsparing, okay? So, but thank you for that. I mean, because we're about to bring on Attorney April Prayer. She's a brilliant criminal defense attorney and fantastic cosmetologist and educator, Tanya McFall-Nance, to talk about this. Because, I was reading this really interesting piece in the Guardian that said why some black women won't or can't quit hair relaxers even as the dangers become clearer. I said, oh wow.
Yeah, that's crazy, ain't it?
Yeah, it just, oh boy.
No, I get it. I mean, yeah, and it's so crazy, but I'll tell you this, it's the one thing it's that saying that you was born by yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you have religious presence, you also know that it's you and God. And not to say that we don't have our parents and everything else around us, but it's that consciousness of stop expecting everybody else to take care of you the way you know how to take care of you. And when you know power and you have that knowledge to be able to do better, you have to consciously make those decisions because, and I explain this to my kids because I'm like, in the long run, that's the only body that you got, and everything that you do now as a kid is going to show up as an adult. And we don't think about it in the long term. Think about a kid that eat a sandwich that contains, like, let's say, the spray-on viruses. It contains the BHT and everything that I mentioned, right? And this is what they eat on a daily basis. Think about the daily basis. Like, let's say 175 days of school and them eating that sandwich, and you multiply that by the number of years they in school, and you tell me if that's not raising the bar or the issues for us to have like some of these risk factors that we start to see later on, and we trying to understand where it came
Girl,
from.
please. Then I'm watching St. Jude on TV. I'm like, we're pouring, and in poor areas, they pour these chemicals into our communities. And not just Black communities, Hispanic communities, indigenous communities, poor white communities.
Miss Jackson,
Yes.
we have about
Do we have
about
Attorney
20
Prayer on?
seconds.
Okay.
Yes, we have Miss
and Ms.
Wells,
Nance?
Attorney Prayer, and Tanya McFall Nance.
Okay. Attorney Prayer, how are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for having both of us on your show.
You know
Good
what?
to hear your voice.
I want to connect. It's wonderful hearing your voice. I'm going to introduce you to this woman. Can you stay with me a hot second, Dr. Knighton? I want you to meet them. I want them to meet you. Stay right there.
We can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am free.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. January 26th, WCPT, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, will lead a debate. Joan Esposito, Patty Vasquez, and Santita Jackson will be moderating this debate, a discussion with all of the top mayoral candidates. Our mayoral races in Chicago are national races. Who's going to impress you the most? 4 years ago, the breakout star in these debates was then Attorney Lightfoot, former federal prosecutor. She's had a really rough run of it over the past 4 years. And so now people are wondering if she'll make the runoff. But, you've got Chuy Garcia, Congressman Garcia, you've got Paul Vallis and Brandon Johnson, our beloved here on WCPT, who are really kind of locked at 1, 2, and 3, just moving things around in the race. But Lori Lightfoot's still in there, but you know what? I want to know what questions you want us to ask these candidates. We need to know because it's a lot. 9 people have been locked in. So please, January 26th, we'll be on all platforms. Let's lock it in. Let's talk about this. Frequent use of hair straightening products may raise uterine cancer risk, and especially for Black women. And I was reading an article in The Guardian at the end of last year. The headline is Why Some Black Women Won't or Can't Quit Hair Relaxers Even as the Dangers Become Clear. These studies have been ongoing for decades. And we were just talking with Dr. Shanina Knighton, infection preventionist, registered nurse, PhD, college lecturer, college professor, and the head of an organization of the largest aggregation of infection preventionists and epidemiologists in the world, just about the things that we put on our bodies, the lotions, the foods with the chemicals that are on them, the meats that have been injected with vaccines. I mean, come on. We be careful. But we really need to, because this whole thing, Black women have had to sue to be able to wear braids, to wear their hair in natural styles. We don't mind the loose curl as much, wavy, curly hair. No. Colorism is very real. But if it's kinky, if it's more West African, you don't look as professional. Just talk to someone about that. And I said, no, I don't appreciate that. I don't know why that has to be my lot. But that's something that we deal with. And so the relaxer reigns. And even as we find that it can imperil our health. And one of the leading advocates that we have is attorney April Prayar, great criminal defense attorney, really an attorney for the people. And she brought along with us to be with us today a licensed cosmetologist, noted in the community, Tanya McFall-Nance, and she's an educator as well, an educator. So we have a lot of questions for you. Talk to us about what we're looking at here with this link between hair relaxers and uterine cancer. Wow, Attorney Prayar.
Yes, so thank you so much for that fantastic introduction. Absolutely. So what happened in mid-October, I believe it was October the 17th, the National Health Institute released a study that they had been doing for 11 years. And they had studied 34,000 women over that time. And during the course of that study, they realized that Black women who had a hair relaxer for even 1 year, think about that, 1 year. Most people we know had them for decades, but if you had it even for 1 year, you doubled your chances of getting uterine cancer, a specific type of uterine cancer, which is endometrial cancer, which is actually the most common cancer amongst all women. Mm-hmm. And Black women who have relaxers have doubled their chances of getting that. In addition to that study, there are other studies that are similar regarding fibroids, regarding endometriosis, also regarding ovarian cancer. And it shows that overwhelmingly, if you had a relaxer, even for that short time period, that those chemicals that were going into our bodies, they're called phthalates, basically plastics, that go into our bodies and just tear up our hormones and target our reproductive system. So over the last 6 weeks or so, I've been talking to hundreds and hundreds of Black women who previously had relaxers and then later developed one of these disorders. And they are all stunned and appalled to find out that this was the link, that this was the missing link, that what they were putting in their heads and oftentimes was put in their head as children by their parents or by a professional since they were 6 or 7 is now, just like your last guest said, is now showing up in their bodies.
Unbelievable. And what can we do? I mean, are there class action lawsuits? I mean, where are we in this process? Because, we were told talc powder. Renee Criswell says, wait a minute, uterine cancer from our hair relaxers, talc powder. We were told, we want it to be fresh, and on and on and on it goes. But a lot of things that we've been taking in innocently, they're not healthy for us, Attorney Prayar.
Yes, so it's called a mass tort lawsuit. So it's different than a class action because basically it means that there will be thousands of individual personal injury lawsuits. Just like if you get into a car crash or somebody hurts you in some way, you would file an individual lawsuit. So there are going to be thousands, maybe millions of individual personal injury lawsuits that all fall under this mass tort umbrella filed by Black women. And they've already started. We're going to see them all across the country. People have probably started seeing Facebook ads popping up and commercials. And so, yes, I'm working with a firm that has filed one of these lawsuits and will be filing thousands on behalf of women who are affected by these awful disorders. And so in order to find out more about that, they can go to hairrelaxerharm.com and see if they are eligible. Again, if they have fibroids and had surgery, they have endometriosis, endometrial cancer, which is a form of uterine cancer, or they have ovarian cancer. And I'm finding that really just about every other Black woman I speak to is affected.
You know what I was reading This article, Why Some Black Women Won't or Can't Put Hair Relaxers, Even as Dangers Become Clearer. This is from December 12th, 2022, just in The Guardian. Janet Stevenson stacks 2 boxes of hair relaxer on her bathroom sink. She shakes out her long hair before leaning down to reveal wavy roots at her middle part to the camera. Straightening this patch of her hair is the purpose of her TikTok video, Come Get a Relaxer With Me, Part 2. And she goes on and on. By the end of the demo clip, she is smiling into the camera, glossy-lipped with an air of satisfaction and shiny, straight, blown-out tresses falling past her shoulders. The 22-year-old nursing student in Montgomery, Alabama, occasionally gets pushback for posting videos of chemically straightening her hair. Commenters will respond, relaxers are damaging, so I don't see how it's healthy at all. It's literally chemicals that make your hair permanently straight. It doesn't matter how professionally you do it, it's still damaging. And she responded, a lot of stuff in the world isn't safe, close quote, open quote, close quote. She says her tresses are healthy and more manageable, and she refuses to give these relaxers up. Even First Lady Michelle Obama said, hey, I had to make a decision about wearing braids as First Lady because that was not going to work. So, Tanya McFall Nance, what do we have options? Because I had someone tell me the other week that, that natural hair, and it's interesting. It's not, curly hair is all right. Wavy hair, right? But kinky hair is the problem. Let's just keep it real. Let's keep it 100. We're Black women here talking about it, and everybody's listening in, and we've all heard about good hair and bad hair, which is crazy and sick. But that's where we are. Ms. Nance.
Well, I think that there are some alternatives. There are blowouts. There are silk presses, and contrary to what we believe is as old and new, the regular run-of-the-mill sew-in has proven to be a very safe and effective way for women to wear straighter styles, and that's a sew-in with extensions. Just for clarity's sake, there are alternatives to chemical relaxers, but even with the alternatives being the keratin straighteners, there's still the threat of formaldehyde, which is one of the main ingredients in even the keratin straighteners. But from a natural standpoint, you can still blow out and silk press your hair. You can still get straight sew-ins and things like that as alternatives. I mean, my hair is natural, and I'm pretty sure April's hair is natural. There is a struggle because we've been conditioned that our hair isn't pretty. And we don't really fit into society's opinion of what beauty is. So those are some of the alternatives that I've offered to my clients. And I was actually a trailblazer, or one of the trailblazers, in terms of stylists who transition their chemically relaxed clientele to 100% natural. And it's just about getting a really good stylist, really learning about your hair and understanding products that work and products that don't work. When we get into different hair textures, there are different products that might work for one person, but it may not work for the other person. So there's a lot of trial and error, and sometimes I think it's exhausting. It can be frustrating for the person who's buying all of these products, but I think in the end, it is worth it to do the R&D to figure out what products really work for your natural hair.
Amen to that. We're talking with Tanya McFall Nance, licensed cosmetologist, hair educator. We're looking at options that we have as we look at this 11-year-old study, and then there's a study that's more than 25 years old that shows a link between the heightened incidences of uterine cancer in Black women, and is tied directly to these hair relaxers, everybody. Let's talk about it. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278, because we're under an enormous amount of pressure professionally. I mean, I have to be honest with you. I'm keeping it 100. I never really felt it. My mother, cut my hair and my sister's hair when we were like 6, 7. And she said, she said, let me tell you why I did that. Okay. Because, we always grew a lot of hair. She said, I wanted to disabuse you of the notion that you needed lots of hair and you needed long hair to be pretty. Okay. And my sister and I are 12 years apart. So it's like a generation of family, right? And because my curl pattern is loose, still, I had to learn how to do my own hair. Because I got a relaxer, I think when I was about 10, and all my hair fell out. All of it fell out. Listen, hands, it fell out. I went to my parents' bedroom, my parents looking at TV, and I lifted up my ponytail. I had no hair under the ponytail. And my mother said, well, that's it. She said, we've not, and all I could do was wear the so-called frizz because I had teased the afro because I wanted a bushy afro, not the curly fro that my mother had, what I could support. We're never satisfied with what we've got. But long story short, I'm interested in these lawsuits, and I need Tanya McFall-Nance to repeat the options. Let me start with you again, Tanya McFall-Nance.
Okay, so
what are the options that we have if we want to wear straightened hair? Because I don't have a problem with it. I'm wearing my hair straightened right now. I don't have a relaxer.
And so there are several options for women who are wearing their hair natural to actually enjoy some straight styles. And some of the ones discussed before are you can do a blowout and flat iron or silk press the hair out. And that'll give the natural hair, it'll kind of straighten the natural curl pattern and give it more of a relaxed look. Pretty much like back in the day, how we would get our hair pressed. Mm-hmm. So we would straighten the curl pattern and curl it or wrap it, or all of those other old school basic rules still apply. So there's the silk press. Then if you wanted a different alternative to that, if you don't want the heat component to your hair, you can actually go take it back and just do a regular sew-in with straight hair or using straight hair. And in that way, if you're adding heat tools to the actual hair that's sewn in, that heat is not impacting your hair because your hair is safely braided and protected. So that sew-in is still considered a protective style. There are braids that you can actually have put into your hair, and maybe those ends are going to be straight and loose so that you'll have the appearance of straighter hair. So there are a number of things that us natural hair women can do, and so that we can have a variety and just some options in changing our hair up a little bit.
How do you transition from a relaxer to natural hair?
Well, there are a couple of ways. There's one, and we've all heard of this. This is a big chop. So you can just pretty much cut all of the relaxed hair off down to the root or the new growth, as we call it. There are transitional styles. You can wear your hair in braids up until your hair grows out to a length that you're more comfortable with. You can do twists. You can do faux locks. There are a number of things, or you can just kind of wear it out, wear your fro, and just enjoy all stages of the natural hair journey.
We're talking with attorney April Prayar, criminal defense attorney, about this 11-year study, and there's studies that are lengthier, that find women using chemical straighteners had double the risk of uterine cancer faced. And I want to know, where do we go from here? I mean, attorney Prayar, I mean, what about, the subtle and the not so subtle hints that having natural hair might impact your professional climb? Of course, maybe on the books, that's not the way it is, but, wink, nod, that could be the case that some people have to deal with in some workplaces.
This is a perfect conversation, and actually Tanya is the perfect person to have on the line because she can tell you firsthand that she knows I struggle with that. So I did the big chop, like she said, 23 years ago, and 23 years ago is when I started practicing law. So you can imagine how that went over. My mom had a fit and was like, this girl ain't going to be able to find a job if she got 2 degrees. And Tanya can tell you that for every jury I did for 20 years almost, I would straighten my hair. And that's how we met, because she had a nice, safe, natural salon where she was able to straighten my hair safely. And I would get it straightened for a jury, have it straightened for 2 days. And she was my go-to person for that. So that's why this is the perfect conversation. But that is a struggle that I had, that white juries weren't going to perceive me well, that we had white coworkers who would tell friends of mine who had similar hair to mine, why does your hair look so angry? So it's
wait. No, I wasn't ready for that. Why does your hair look so what?
Angry. A white male colleague said, there's a woman, I have a slightly looser, curly afro, and her hair was just like mine. And she came to work very upset one day. And I was like, girl, what's going on? Because we would always compare hair stories. And she says, one of my colleagues just asked me, why does my hair always look so angry?
Oh, wow.
So it's a real concern. You know, I'm in a male-dominated, predominantly white field. It was always a concern, how do I wear my hair to look presentable to them? Like, I loved my hair natural. It was, how did it look? How did it come off in court? So it's a very real conversation. And with the Crown Act failing just a month ago on the federal level in 32 states, women who decide today, hey, I just want to wear cornrows today, or I want to put in some box braids, or I want to do faux locks like Tanya mentioned, a temporary hairstyle, or I want to go lock my hair, a permanent hairstyle, they could be fired on the spot with no recourse. So this is a very real concern. I think there's a very concerted effort to continue to have us straighten our hair, because it's such a big business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business, and relaxers have been on the decline for the last 20 years. And that, you know, because I was like, why would a legislator in Florida, a white male legislator in Florida, care how Tamika wears her hair in Missouri? Well, because he's probably in bed with the hair care companies, because otherwise there would be no reason for this constant push for us to alter the natural state of our hair to fit in. And so that's why it's so outrageous to find out that, okay, not only is there this push, but by straightening our hair with these chemicals that we've used for decades, probably well over half a century, has literally been killing us and tearing our bodies apart. And that's why we're outraged, and that's why we're encouraging women to fight back with this mass tort lawsuit and go to hairrelaxerharm.com. Again, hairrelaxerharm.com, and you can go there and type in information, tell us a little bit about the condition that you have and whether you had a relaxer before, and join in this mass lawsuit. They can also call the number, and
which
that is 312. Yeah, think about it.
I got you. I'm not mad at you. I'm just writing it. 312
261 6193.
261-6193. Okay, give us that again.
Yes.
Please.
It is 312-261-6193.
And the website is hairrelaxerharm.com. Hairrelaxerharm.com. You know, when you all come back, I want us to have a broader, deeper conversation about hair texture, right? Because some natural hair is more acceptable, you know, to the white community than others, and even the black folks now. Because you remember what was it? Not Simone Biles, the young lady who preceded her, Gabby. Gabby Douglas. She was criticized very heavily within our own black community, because they said, you know, her hair should have been on point. I said, this girl just jumped and twirled through the air all over this floor as a gymnast. She has just won a gold medal. This has never happened before. You mean to tell me because she has some ends sticking out, you got a problem with this? What is she supposed to do? Put that butter in her hair so it burns it out? I mean, because, you know, that's part of the social pressure that we face from without and from within. I want to get a closing thought from you. Ms. Number one, how can we get our silk pressed from you? I'm going to get my information. So I go get my silk press from you. How about that? Tanya, my phone.
I'll leave my number if that's okay.
Yes.
I'm at 312-437-7201.
And what is the name of your salon?
And I'm a freelance artist.
Okay, fantastic.
So you get me off.
Say it slowly.
312-437-7201.
You must put her on your website, hairrelaxerharm.com. The final word from you, Attorney April Prayar. 1 minute.
Well, I think it's so important that women spread the word about this because I've been absolutely appalled by how little media coverage this has been getting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because it's us. Because we're always considered the least of those. And so our issues are considered the least important.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really encourage Black women to reach out and to go to hairrelaxerharm.com so that they can fight back and hopefully be compensated when we prevail over these hair industry giants that have been making money by peddling poison for decades.
Well, you know what? I want you all to come back because I want us to dig deeper and have a conversation about hair texture. Because I think we have to go there. We have to go there because that's very real too. And we have to teach our children to love themselves in whatever iteration God made them. Really. Really. My mother said, you know what? God looked down and you know an African because you see the crown upon our heads. This is not something that should make us ashamed, everybody. I mean, as I wear my hair straightened, and I was teased in high school, I went to Whitney Young, by my classmates, by my senior year. They said, girl, you have had every hairstyle known to humankind. But I got the big chop when I was 14, which was fine because it was falling out anyway. And there's that. So next, I got saved real early because it did not work. I mean, it just didn't work for me. So, but a lot of people, we cover this from a lot of different directions. I want you to go to hairrelaxerharm.com, hairrelaxerharm.com, or call Tanya Nance at 312-437-7201. We can make it through all of this, everybody. But if you have gotten sick, you need to get involved. Reach out to Attorney April Prayar. We're going to come back and talk about hair texture and all of that and how it impacts our professional lives. Ladies, I can't wait to have you back on the Santita Jackson Show. Let's talk about what happened. I'm sending you much love. The Biden documents and all these progressives in Congress. More of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. I definitely want you all to come back.
Definitely. Just let us know when. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, girl, get out of here.
We got to talk about your mom's favorite phrase. Go with what you were given.
Look, that's what she told me.
I love that.
She told me that. I mean, because I was wearing, that's what the poodle fro. But, look, I grew up in the 70s. And I, grew up loving Wantu Waziri, use Afro Sheen, beautiful people use Afro Sheen. And as a child, you don't know anything about hair texture. All you know is that when you open that magazine, whether it was ebony or sepia, Black Star or Right On, everybody had these big, perfect afros. And it was like, and mine did not look like that. And I was very unhappy. Because you want to, look, I'm being very honest with you because I wanted my afro to look like that. And my mother would just roll her eyes. She was like, no.
Miss Jackson,
Yes.
we have John Nichols on.
You know what, my mom's hair was more like yours.
Yeah, I mean, my mother's hair is.
It was never going to happen for her.
She said, this is not going to happen for you. And there was no need for her to explain it. I mean, because I'm just sitting there crying, and she is like, you know what? And the big joke is that my father had the afro, and my father's hair is almost straight. I don't know. She said, but we had to do so much to get him his afro, and if he got caught in the rain, the jig was up. But
yeah, my mom used to do the plait. She would plait her hair and roll it up and tuck the braids under and take them down the next day, and she'd have this beautiful round thick fro.
Well, you know what? I tried that, and then you know what? My hair stayed flat, so I'm not doing. I'm done. Okay, done. You know, I just deal with what I've got now. As grown as I am, I'm like, you know, this is what I've got. I'm done. And my mother was right. She said, you're not going to be able to do anything with it anyway. So get over it. So much sympathy I got from her. Oh man, she was like, you know, what's the problem? This is what you got. She said, I've got what I've got, and I work with it. Now, my mother, you know, wore a lot of wigs too, but she just didn't, you know, she just sees hair as an accessory. But I'm glad that she cut my hair and my sister's hair, because that's how we see it now. It's like, you know, it just is what it is. But you know, for many of us, we face a real pressure to have straight hair, and it's a very real thing. And for you to have to go to court, you're like, no, I got to deal with this jury, and it is what it is. So I want us to have that conversation too. But I want to continue to let people know about this lawsuit.
Well, I appreciate that so much because, like I said, it is not getting the media attention it deserves.
You'll get it here. I mean, it's okay. You don't need them. You got me, and you got other people. How about that? you use what you got.
Thank you.
Didn't I just say that? Use what you got. All right then. So let's do that in the next couple of weeks. Because that's a conversation. So no, you got it. You've got it. And Tanya, before you go, your number, people want to know. I think I've already memorized it. 312-437-7201. Yes. But I actually did my hair the other day, you know, because I just, you know, I had to learn how to do my own hair. So, you know,
that's true. I mean, and again, we see people in the store, at the bus stop, or wherever you encounter someone whose hair you like, and you compliment them and you say, oh, what do you use on your hair? What works for that person may not work for you. So again, it's like constant R&D until you find that magic thing that product that your hair loves the best.
Oh, look, I found this, you know, Bianca Renee. Yeah, I'm giving her free publicity. We have very similar hair texture, and I follow her faithfully on YouTube. Yes, I do. Love her. Because, you know, I found someone whose hair is like mine, and I can, you know, she's say thumbs up, thumbs down on these different products, and I'm the products queen. Oh my gosh, I have so much stuff. I can sell this stuff. But you know, I've gone back to Johnson's baby shampoo. Yes, I have.
Oh, really?
Yep. I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that works for me. My mother said, you know, why do you? She said, why do you do all these things? My mother just, well, she will call you stupid. She was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. My mother's very, you know, my mother shoots from the hip. She's like, what you doing? You look crazy buying all this stuff. You don't even have room for it.
That's so funny.
Oh, no. But I think the point is, everybody, you have to find what's going to work for you. And love your hair. Fall in love with it. Because it matches your features. It matches you. Yeah.
That's the part we all miss.
Yeah.
That love part.
Love it. Because, you know, when Michael straightened his hair, he also had to thin out his features. That's how that works. You know, I mean, you got to match. You got to match. You got to match.
Gotta coordinate.
Come on, you got to coordinate. Look, I keep it 100, ladies.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, your hair matches your features. And we just need to be clear on that. Thank you very much. So this is, you know, we were born this way. So I love you both, and I can't wait to have you back on.
All right. Wonderful.
Blessings to you. Everybody. Tanya Nance can be reached at 312-437-7201. Okay. And then, of course, hairrelaxerharm.com. John Nichols, how are you, my dear brother?
I am good, my sister. How are you?
Good. Now I need you in a quieter place, I think.
I will do my very best.
Okay.
I've got an appointment. I think this will quiet it down quite a bit.
Maybe he can take off speaker.
Oh,
That's better. That's better.
Pretty background.
Wherever you are, that's
Much
whatever you
better.
just did is great. But I will let the board operator
That's, I
control
think I
that.
got it.
Board operator, you control that.
All
Let me
right.
not jump ahead of you.
We have about 10 seconds. Stand by. Did you want me to call Miss Wells back, or are we
Oh, yes,
past that?
please. Well, could you ask her if she can come on at 7:30?
Yeah, I'll call her then.
Fantastic. I am so sorry. We'll have to just barreling through. All right, here we go.
I forgot too. It's okay.
Thank you. Here we go.
We have John Nichols and Tanya McFall Nance still on.
Well, we can let Miss Nance go.
Okay.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It's Tuesday, January 10th, 2023, AM 950 radio in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio stations. I want you to meet my morning stars over on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel and the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. That's the only page where I can accept friends, everybody. So please, everybody, go to Santita Jackson and Friends and be my friend and join me on Twitter at Santita J. We were just talking about Black women and the heightened risk of uterine cancer because of relaxers. We're going to continue that conversation in the future. We've got to talk about that and just the discrimination, the hair discrimination that Black women and women with curly or kinky hair, that's Jewish women, that's some Italian women, that's a whole lot of folks have to deal with that, trying to look professional, right? As if the only way you can look professional is to have straight hair. Not quite. All right, everybody, we're going to be talking about Vice President Biden. Yeah, when he was vice president, he actually had some classified documents too, and they were kept at his office that he had in conjunction with the University of Pennsylvania. Going to be talking about that. At the same time, this new Congress, as we're looking at Kevin McCarthy, the new speaker, we also need to look at the fact that there are more progressives in Congress, self-described progressives with progressive principles than ever before. And then you got a great big race up in Wisconsin. That's right, for the Supreme Court. If we've learned nothing over the past few years, know how important it is to vote in every election and to really understand who occupies offices in your state. All right, let's get to some of these headlines. In Chicago, we'll have a high of 43 degrees today, partly cloudy. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 32 degrees and cloudy. College football, Georgia, triumphant over TCU. That is quite the understatement. 65-7. Georgia had a flawless record this year. First back-to-back team in many, many years. Congratulations to them, but congratulations to all of these athletes who are on the field of battle. As we see that Damar Hamlin has now gone home. He's making a remarkable recovery. Hope that he gets his money, too. We're going to be revisiting that as well. In the NBA, the Celtics 107, the Bulls 99. The Timberwolves had the night off. In the NHL, the Wild will be playing the Rangers. More than 34 million people in the southwestern U.S. are under flood watches today as a powerful storm continues to batter California. In the past 24 hours, up to 7 inches of rain fell across lower elevations of the state, while areas in the mountains reported up to 10 inches. Thousands of evacuations, inundated roadways have caused widespread damage across northern and central California. You have mudslides, and it's just a mess. The storm is now moving south and flooding. We have mudslides and flooding in Los Angeles, San Diego, San Jose, and Las Vegas. Yes, in the desert, everybody. Classified documents from President Joe Biden's time as vice president were discovered in a private office last fall, according to Biden's attorneys yesterday. It is unclear what the documents pertain to or why they were taken to Biden's private office at the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement. More about that with John Nichols in just a few moments. House Republicans on Monday approved a rules package for the 118th Congress in what marked the first test of House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's ability to navigate his slim Republican majority. Despite concerns from some moderates, the rules were passed on a 220 to 213 mostly party line vote, with Texas Republican Representative Tony Gonzalez joining all the Democrats in voting against the measure, which will include the ability for any single member to call a vote to oust the Speaker. And those are just some of the headlines, everybody. We're looking for financial freedom. Do you have bad credit? Do you need to build your credit? Do you need to rebuild your credit? Are you using your debit card? You shouldn't do that. You need to get a credit card. You say, I don't have enough credit. Well, I want you to call Team Hochberg and work out a plan so that you can get a credit card. Do you want to buy a house? Do you want to buy an apartment building? That's within your grasp. But if you fail to plan, you need to get a plan. Whatever your financial predicament is, Team Hochberg can help you. Please reach out to them at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or go to 56david.com. Tom and Sonia did just that. 2 kids, 17 credit cards, $100,000 worth of debt on these credit cards. They were about to lose their home. They said, well, this just sounds too good to be true. Nobody can help me. That was not true. They reached out to Team Hochberg. They were able to get an FHA loan. They paid off their 17 credit cards, and they were able to, of course, you shouldn't negotiate with these companies. Let Team Hochberg do that. They lowered their payments by more than $2,800. They saved their home, and now they've gone from drowning in debt to moving into prosperity. That could be you, everybody. 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or 56david.com. All right, let's talk about the latest and greatest in politics with the brilliant national correspondent for The Nation magazine, John Nichols. John, there is so much going on. You've got this big Supreme Court race. We didn't pay attention to these judges until we saw these big cases, Ahmaud Arbery's case, the Rittenhouse case, and on, George Floyd's case. Now we're paying attention. And we've got, of course, more progressives than ever. But last night, the breaking news was about these classified documents from President Biden's time as vice president that were being housed in his private offices. What do you think about that? Will this become a political problem, an actual problem? I mean, apparently this was discovered some months ago. We're just finding out about this now. John Nichols?
Problem, and that's the thing. Okay. Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can. Yes.
Yes. I think it might have been the board there. So, yes, I think it is a significant issue. We don't know how significant because we don't know much about the documents. From what we understand, there's about a dozen documents, and it's very important to find out, what details we can about them and know whether they are, how classified they were, how significant they were. But where it becomes significant is obviously in the context of former President Trump's documents. We know that former President Trump had a lot of documents down at Mar-a-Lago. There was obviously the raid there. And, we know in the politics of the moment that people are going to be, our Republican friends are going to be saying, well, look, if Trump was in trouble for having documents, then Biden should be as well. And Trump is already saying that. So this is going to be a significant development as regards President Biden, and he's going to have to deal with it. He's going to have to speak about it and respond to it. So are his lawyers and his staff. We'll see how far it goes. My sense is that if it's really just a dozen documents, and perhaps if they are related to some narrow area of work, it may not prove to be that big a deal, but we don't know that yet. And I think it is important to treat this seriously. You have to treat it seriously because obviously if we say that Republicans have to follow a set of rules, and Democrats do as well.
Well, what is the significance of any president or vice president or anyone taking classified government documents off-site, right? I mean, what is the significance of that? I mean, because to me, this is a transpartisan moment. This is really about, state secrets and classified documents, which, as we know, John, are classified and reclassified all the time. But apparently these were still classified documents that were locked away.
Right. Right, and it's on a constant basis that they're classified and reclassified, and sometimes they're classified because of developments in a moment, right? And you have to keep it secret for a period of time, and then you can loosen that up. Other times they're permanently classified because of information that has consequences for national security or other issues. And so those are all the sorts of things you have to figure out. But the significance of presidents taking classified documents is that, when you're president of the United States, you're obviously the most powerful figure in the world. You have access to immense amounts of information that you and I might struggle sometimes to even imagine. And so you leave the White House and you're going to be working on issues related to your presidency, maybe in continuing projects like Biden was involved with the University of Pennsylvania, things of that nature. And we have had instances where presidents do, in fact, bring a box of documents along with them, sometimes intentionally. We know from maybe perhaps some presidents suggesting or President Trump suggesting unintentionally. But whatever it is, this is significant because these are not documents that are supposed to be treated casually. And, here's the bottom line, Santita. When we think about all of these issues, what we need to understand is this, that we have a set of rules that for everybody who works in the federal government, be it the lowest clerk or the highest cabinet member or whatever, whatever your designation, whatever your responsibility, and you're supposed to follow those standards. And if anyone, even the President of the United States, doesn't follow the standards, then the whole system becomes suspect and uncertain. And so it's totally appropriate to make sure that things are being done properly and to follow through on all this. Because if we don't, then you end up in a situation where potentially classified documents fall into the wrong hands, or frankly, where they might be used inappropriately, just for whatever purposes, commercial or others.
Yeah, you wonder how these things happen, but when they're establishing their libraries and this center that the vice president was, in which he was housed, one could see how the Clintons walked away with, everybody walks away with stuff from the White House, but you don't want these classified documents offsite. You really, really don't. And you're right, it is something we have to watch.
And you just and if you have a question, this is the important thing about it. If you've got a question, if you're uncertain about whether a document should be in your hands or not, there are all sorts of archivists and specialists who are in the employ of the White House and in the employ of the federal government that you can check with, right? So that's really at the heart of this thing. There ought to be, it's pretty clear now if we're having situations with Trump and now with Biden, that there frankly needs to be some sort of better system as regards the exit of officials from the White House, be it a former vice president, be it a former president, whatever, to make sure that documents are well managed.
Well, we will have to see how this goes. But I was shocked. And apparently this happened some time ago. Why do you think it came out now? Do you think it's because, why do you think it came out now?
Well, if what we're told is that about 6 months ago, some time ago, Biden's lawyers contacted archives and other folks who said, look, we got some documents that we don't think that Biden should have had. My sense is if you check back 6 months, you're getting around the time of, all the concerns about Trump's documents, or at least the heightened concern about Trump's documents. And one suspects, but I do not know, one suspects that the Biden folks said, boy, we should check and make sure we didn't have any documents we shouldn't have had. I'm not sure of that, and we'll find out if that was the case. But one way or the other, what we're going to figure out is that at some point along the way, somebody said, look, there's some documents here in the possession of, if not the vice president, if not the president, the former vice president's office. Those documents really ought to be in other hands.
Well, we'll have to see. It's just, because we're still waiting to see what happened, really, with former President Trump, and you just have to see. We just have to see, and we will. But we've got some very interesting news, and of course, I was in Washington last week, seeing so many of these congresspersons, and I have known John since we were both very, very, very young, and of course, he came out of the Jackson campaign, 83, 84, when it was the Renegade campaign, and I say that because to be a progressive then, being a liberal was about as far to the left on the spectrum as you would go. But Reverend ran as an unreconstructed, unapologetic progressive. And out of that, we got Bernie Sanders and we got Mabel Tang and we got Maxine Waters was able to get a heightened platform and on and on and on. Now they're not alone in Congress, John. This Congressional Progressive Caucus continues to grow.
That's exactly right. And I think, look, it's very important to understand that the Jackson campaign from 1984 and even to a greater extent 1988 really brought a tremendous number of people into politics as unreconstructed progressives, as proud progressives. And we should know that, there's people like Tammy Baldwin in the United States Senate, now a senior senator. And Tammy Baldwin, was a Jackson campaigner back in 1988. She was, a very strong Jackson backer. So was Paul Wellstone.
That's right.
Former senator from Minnesota.
He was the chairman of our campaign in Minnesota. That's right.
Absolutely. And boy, when you start running down the list of people who were Jackson campaigners in 84 and 88, who went into politics because they saw that possibility, right? They said, wow, I don't have to sit on the sidelines. I don't have to be just a volunteer. I could be a member of Congress. I could be a senator. Now, something similar happened with Bernie Sanders' campaigns in 2016 and 2020. And that is that a whole new generation of young people said, wow, okay, if Bernie Sanders can serve in the Senate as an absolute progressive, as a declared democratic socialist, then I can do that too. And what we really have seen since 2016, and especially since 2018, is this growing group of young people, some of them associated with Sanders and some coming up, through other routes, but all of whom commit to an absolutely progressive point of view. And it is very important, frankly, very uncovered by our media, to recognize that the transition that just occurred, the swearing in of a new Congress, which was terribly delayed by the fights over the speakership and all that, brought in a group of young, incredibly skilled progressives, many of whom with previous elected experience, who are ready to really do a lot in Congress. And they include, of course, listeners to this show well recognized, they include Jonathan Jackson, whose experience is, profound and is clearly ready to govern. They also include Delia Ramirez, who comes from Chicago as well. And boy, I got to tell you, when I have interviewed her and looked at her, she is really ready to hit the ground running. She's a former legislator from Illinois and is just incredibly skilled, incredibly thoughtful. She's going to be a remarkable member of Congress.
And she's the first Latina elected from the Midwest to the U.S. House of Representatives. I love Delia. Congresswoman Ramirez. I love her.
And then you've got coming out of Texas, Greg Casar, Austin City Council member. I'll tell you, I've interviewed Greg Casar. Just keep your eyes open because this young man is going to be a profoundly significant member of Congress. He's already put out like a dozen press releases. He's working on every angle already, and he's an organizer. He's ready to do all the things that need to be done. And then coming out of Western Pennsylvania, Summer Lee. And Summer Lee, again, a former state legislator in Pennsylvania, somebody who has tremendous background, incredible educational background, but also just an organizer's sensibility. And this woman had to really fight her way into Congress. She had a tough primary. She had a tough general election, but she's there and she's come on her own terms. I think she's going to be just a remarkable member, and she'll really be, in many ways, an extension of the squad. She's very associated with many members of the squad, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar and others. And then I have to point out that Maxwell Frost from out of Florida is in, and this guy's 25 years old. So the next generation has arrived in Congress, and this Maxwell Frost is so young that when he went to some of the briefings where they prepare members of Congress, there were people at the door who said, young, White House or congressional aides and others who said, "I'm sorry, you can't come in. This is only for members." And he said, "I am a member. I'm Maxwell Frost. I just got elected from Florida. I'm 25." And the aides, the people that were at the door, the congressional employees or whoever, were just like beaming. They were so excited because they're like, "You're kidding." It's like one of us, that somebody our age is going to be sitting on the floor of Congress. And that's the reality. And the thing about Maxwell Frost is that he came up in this generation that's gone through these school shootings, that's gone through, all the climate activism and everything. He's very much of his generation. And there's, I think, just tremendous evidence. This guy is not he's not going to be satisfied with the slow, kind of dysfunctional workings of things. I think he's going to be a good member of Congress, a responsible member of Congress, but one who really demands action. And I think he'll be heard, which is a big deal.
Well, when you come back, we will talk about this Wisconsin Supreme Court race, because boy, oh boy, we now know more than ever that when you see these judges on the ballot, don't roll your eyes, don't let them glaze over. You need to know who they are, but knowing that there are so many progressives in Congress now, this is so exciting to me. It's just exciting. And
if you're right to be excited, and if we can circle around before we close off and just say the fact that one of them is Jonathan Jackson, somebody who has deep experience in the Rainbow Coalition, who knows the history of this struggle for economic and social and racial justice to save the planet and to have diplomacy and peace rather than war and division. Putting that young man in Congress, maybe even we'll say, we might even whisper middle-aged man.
Yes.
Putting him in Congress is a really big deal, because he comes with experience that I think is going to be very definitional very quickly.
Well, you're right, because he's reaching across the aisle already. He said, because I've got to deliver for my district. I'm not going to sacrifice my principles, but points of commonality, we've got to find it. And we're going to find that in this razor-thin Congress. Just a few votes separate Democrats and Republicans. They're going to have to come together in order to make things happen. And we should not sacrifice our principles to do that. But we have to get along. Thank you, Rodney King. Oh, is that John Nichols? I love you, John Nichols. Sending you much love.
I love you too, and it is very exciting to be talking about the rainbow going forward into the 21st century. Thanks for having me.
In Congress. And the rainbows at the Nation magazine. Right. That's right. With John Nichols. Sending you all of our love. Let's talk about the Chicago mayoral race, everybody. Who you got? Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a few minutes. John?
Yes, Santita, I have to go, but I love you a lot.
I love you too, but I want to come back and talk about that. Well, I want to come back. I want you to come back and talk about that, because I want to find out if there's a way that we can start doing education on these judges.
Oh, of course there is. There's so much that can be done. And so we should definitely talk about it. And education is at the simplest level. It is simply paying attention, as you suggest, to these judicial races. That is a big, big deal, because we can't let them just happen to us anymore. We have to be ahead of them.
Oh, my gosh. Absolutely. So, I definitely want to do that. But I'm so glad that you addressed those issues, because that popped up last night. I said, I want to.
No, it's important. And we can't get into our partisan corners on that one.
Why not? I mean, we're on Facebook Live, but why not? Why do you say that?
Well, because embarrassing things could come out. We just don't know. Our position, frankly, ought to be, let's figure out what's going on. Let's get clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you've got clarity, things will sort out, right? I mean, but I think that we've seen from the Trump people quite often an effort to say, oh, it's all persecution and stuff like this. No, it is important to keep on top of these documents, to know, who's got them and why.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I happen to expect that President Biden will have a good excuse and a good explanation. But I think that let's wait and see what he has to say.
Yeah, I think that he will, but I think that you're right. This is not a partisan issue. I mean, it wasn't a partisan. It's not a partisan issue for me at all. I mean, like at all.
No. And I think that's one of your great strengths. And,
Thank you.
Santita, I have to go.
Love you.
Love you more.
Impossible. All right, sweetie.
Okay,
have a good
bye-bye.
one. You got that number, right?
You too. Yeah, I got Jonathan's number.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Send them a text.
Bye-bye. I will.
Okay. All righty. Board operator, you're back. Okay, do we have Dr. Starks on with us? And Eric
Miss
Johnson?
Jackson.
Yeah.
Miss Jackson, we have Dr. Starks, we have Eric Johnson, and I brought up Chaparral for the live read.
Okay, Chaparral, let's get right to it. Girly girl. Let's get right to it. Okay. Oh boy. Okay. Okay, Eric Johnson.
Yes.
Oh, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. You're on with Dr. Robert Starks.
Hello, Dr. Johnson. Good morning, Dr. Starks. Good to talk to you. And of course, we're in the hands of one of the great ones, Santita Jackson.
Oh, you are just sweet. I mean, really. You really, really are. But, I'm going to reach out to you, Dr. Starks. Because, on the 26th, Eric, we have the station is going to have a big mayoral forum. And they've never done that before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
have all of the candidates agreed to be on?
Well, I know the top tier have, and they're getting, they're hearing from
We're
people
going
every day.
live. Stand by.
Okay, thank you. We're coming up. Stand by. So that's a great thing.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am green.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. Can you believe it's been 4 years now? It's time for us to elect a new mayor or re-elect the one that we've got. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, January 26th, WCPT, my home station, the largest progressive talk radio station in the country, will be sponsoring a debate. Patty Vasquez, Joan Esposito, and I, Santita Jackson, will be moderating this discussion amongst these candidates. Who you got? Do you have Mayor Lightfoot? Do you have Chuy Garcia? Do you have Brain? Do you have Sophia King? On and on and on. There are 9 people in the race. Almost guaranteeing that there will be a runoff. Who will make the runoff if there is one? What do you expect? We've seen some polls where Chuy Garcia is number 1 and Brandon Johnson is number 2. Then Chuy is number 1 and Paul Vallis is number 2. Many people agree that the Mayor Lightfoot, is struggling. If so, why? I want to know what your thoughts are and what you want out of beyond who. What do you want from this new mayor? What do you want? What do you want? Call us at 773-763-9278. We have two brilliant guests on with us today. I'll introduce them just after we get this information about celebrations by us from Chapearl Wells. Chapearl.
Yes, Santita, thank you so much for having us this morning. At Celebrations by Us, we are your one-stop party connection. Right now, we're taking orders for the Super Bowl. It's coming up in a couple of weeks, and we're doing our party wings, our meatballs, our hoagie sandwiches, as well as also our sliders. So give us a call at 708-526-4546, 708-526-4546. We're also taking orders for Valentine's Day, where you can do your fresh flowers and bouquets, and you can have them delivered from Celebrations by Us. Instead of calling 1-800-FLOWERS, call 708-526-4546, and we look forward to serving you. Thank you so much, Santita.
All righty, Dighty. Well, who you got, everybody, in this mayoral race? What is going on? 9 people are running. 9. Who do you think will win in February, or do you think we will have a runoff? Dr. Robert Starks, preeminent political scientist, educator, activist, professor from Northeastern Illinois University, their Center for Inner City Studies, someone who's a veteran of Operation Breadbasket, Operation Push, Rainbow Push. I've known him all my life, and he's been a great educator. I mean, I don't laugh. I've learned so much about politics from you, and we're so grateful. And so many of us have, generations of us have, and we just thank God for you. Eric Johnson, brilliant young journalist from the great Crusader newspaper. It lives up to its name. It is a crusading newspaper. Please get a subscription, everybody. Support that paper and Dorothy Lavelle and the fantastic work that she and this wonderful staff of writers and investigators are doing. Let me start off with you. Let me start off with the newspaper man, Eric Johnson. What do you see? 9 people in the race. Do you expect a runoff? And do you trust the polls?
I'm not going to say I'm going to play it safe, but what I can tell you that Chuy Garcia is a major player, in the race. I think you're right. Lori Lightfoot is struggling,
Why?
And I think that.
Why do you think she's struggling?
Many voters, she has not, by her track record of the last 4 years, she has not proven herself to be the reformer that she campaigned to be. Many voters were just surprised by some of the policies that she implemented, some of the ordinance that she backed. They were just not, they were just not something that the voters, expected of her. She campaigned on, as reformer, saying that she was going to reopen those 6 mental health clinics that Rahm Emanuel closed. Then she turned around after she was elected and reneged on that promise. She did not do that. She fought for an elected school board, even though when she campaigned, she said she was going to do that. And then there's those speed camera thresholds that she implemented. And as we know, speed cameras, they disproportionately affect Black and brown communities more than any other ethnic group. It's just one misstep after another with Lori Lightfoot. And as you know, recently, she, her administration deceived the media, even Woodlawn residents, even Alderman Jeanette Taylor, by their plan to house migrants in the vacant Wadsworth Elementary School. And that deeply insulted Black residents. It's just one thing after another with Lori Lightfoot that has put her in a deep hole, among Black voters, which is her main voting base.
So your thoughts about this race? I mean, we're hearing Paul Vallis's name. We're hearing Chuy Garcia, who has turned out to be a force to be reckoned with, but we shouldn't be surprised by that because he's built a lot of alliances. He's built them down through the years, but so has Paul Vallis in the Black community. And Brandon Johnson, many people are surprised that he is a comer in this race. And yet the current mayor is struggling. But you've got Sophia King, you've got Jamal Green with his young energy, and Sophia King and with all the things that she's been able to do on the South Side, and on and on and on. What do you make of this race? I mean, who stands out to you and why? Dr. Starks.
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to agree with Mr. Johnson, is the mayor is in real trouble, primarily because she has no real base in the black community on the west and south sides of the city, and I think that's going to come back to really hurt her. Secondly, I am clear that there will be a runoff. Now, who will be in the runoff is up to anybody's guess. But I think,
well, hazard a guess for us. Come on, you come on. Pull out that crystal ball. Pull it out. Or you know what? Give us a couple of different scenarios. How about that?
Well, one scenario is Mayor Lightfoot and Chewy Garcia being in runoff. Another one, of course, is Chewy Garcia and Willie Wilson. I mean, don't count out Willie Wilson.
Absolutely.
He cannot be counted out because, of course, he has the support of the women in the black community as well as the church-going group, and that is a big voting block in the black community.
But stop right there. Why do people try to count Willie Wilson out? I mean, I've heard, and quite frankly, it sounded quite classist. Some African Americans have said, he is not quite as polished, and he doesn't speak the King's English. I said, wait, this man is extremely successful, and he meets the needs of the people. What else are they supposed to do? Do you want a Shakespearean actor?
Well, remember, none of the dailies spoke British English. Come on now. I mean, Old Man Daly was terrible with the language, and his son didn't do that much better. So I agree with you on that. One of the things about Willie Wilson is he has a church group, and that is a major group in the African American community. Because remember, many of the people who go to church are women, and women, of course, outvote men in the black community, particularly those women who are over 50. So, it's anybody's guess. I think Brandon Johnson is a real force because he has the teachers union behind him, and other unions are pouring money into his campaign. So I think it definitely will be a runoff. Absolutely, in my opinion.
You bring up the black church, and Eric Johnson. You brought that up in this congressional race that we had this past year, where Jonathan Jackson and Delia Ramirez and others are newly mentored members of Congress. What is it about the black church? Because you pointed that out. You said the black church is a force in this race, in the first congressional district race. You said whoever has the black church has got the seat. Please explain.
Yes. Well, the black church traditionally, historically, has been the bedrock of black politics. Martin Luther King, Shuttleworth, Abernathy, Souls to the Polls. It's
Reverend Jackson, Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Jesse Jackson. I mean, it's just historically have been politics, across the board, locally, federally, on a state level. And it's that tradition that, those black church voters hold dearly, very dearly. And it's just that type of that activism that infused, with the, religion and with the spirituality that, it's all about action, and putting it into action. And that's something that they, have continuously year after year, hold dear, when it comes to elections. When Jonathan Jackson was running, I knew he had the black vote, and Santita, I told you, he's going to win. I know it, and he did. So I think, and Mr. Starks is right on the point. Willie Wilson has the black church vote, and he loves church. He goes to church himself, very much so. And I don't think no other candidate, has that bond, like Willie Wilson. It's just like Dorothy Brown when she was Cook County Court clerk. She always had the black vote. And no matter how many times the media attacked her, the white, mainstream, she always came through. That's just because she always had that strong bond.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, that's the reason why, as we can see what happened on Sunday when Reverend James Meeks gave his last sermon, yes, Lori Lightfoot, but she knows the power of the black church vote. And you cannot.
She does not have a base in the black church. Now let's be real about it. She does not have a base in the black church.
Why not?
She's trying to catch up. I don't know. I don't know of any black church that she's a member of. Do you know, Brother Johnson?
No, I do not. In fact, I spoke to a very prominent pastor on Friday, and he supported Lori Lightfoot in 2019. He said he will not be doing that this time around. In fact, he called Lori Lightfoot Rahm Emanuel's third term.
Ooh.
Oh, my God.
But is that, but wait, but hold on. Is that fair? I mean, look, she walked into a city that was broke, and then we had a pandemic. I mean, this was unprecedented. America and the city, the state, the country, and the world shut down for 2 years. So, I mean, a lot of things that you are ambitious to try, everything went out the window starting at the end of 2019. That was a year into her term. Everything went out the window. I mean, so is that really fair?
But remember, the major destructive thing that happened in the pandemic was the failure of the schools. What has she done to reenact and refurbish the school system? Do you realize that there are schools high schools in this city that have 600, 500 students? Do you understand? Yeah. Has that been on her agenda to deal with? First of all, we don't have a system of accountability. We don't know who is in schools and who are not, because Richard Daley got rid of the system that tracks students in the public schools. So there are schools that have no libraries and no librarians, schools that have no counselors. Has she addressed that? I agree with you that the pandemic was a major destructive thing in the city, but has she addressed it after the pandemic?
Right, and there were also concerns too, even during the pandemic. Yes, she did well in the beginning of the pandemic. She was a force to be reckoned with. She made sure that people stayed home during stay-at-home orders. She closed the lakefront down, and people praised her. But over time, she made some missteps that really turned heads. During the George Floyd protest, on the southwest side were looted, and police. I was even there right on 47th Street in Calumet, in front of a city sports store, where you had about 20 police officers, and you had people coming out of that store with jerseys and boxes of Nike shoes, and nothing was done. And it just so happens, police board president Gia Foreman was there, and he saw what was going on, and he scolded the police officers, snatched the box of shoes out of the hands of a person, and threw them back in and told her to go home. But during press conferences, Lori said we got lots of calls. We could not get to all of them. That was totally unacceptable. Totally. And she raised bridges downtown. She put National Guardsmen along Roosevelt Road, and she did everything in her power to protect the Loop and the North Side, but she did nothing on the South. And people still remember that. But
Let me
that
go
was
to-
the first. That
Well, let me go to Janae from the West Side. I at least want to bring in at least one caller. And Howard, I'm going to come to you as well. Janae from the West Side. How you doing, Janae?
Good morning. This is actually Renee.
Renee, Happy New Year, Renee.
Happy New Year to you too. I just quickly want to say that sometimes I think the corporate media is unfair to Lori Lightfoot, to Mayor Lightfoot. But then when I look at the things she actually does, I can't defend her too much. She's taking CHA housing land, public housing land, and she wants to build this state-of-the-art high school on that land, even though you have Jones right there. You have high schools that are underutilized that
Absolutely
benefit from having different
Phillips High School, right?
To those schools with the students who are there already. That'll help with integrating our high schools. She has my water bill. When I look at my water bill, Santita, I pay $320 a month because I don't have a meter for a water bill. There are 5 of us. We don't take that many baths, Santita, that our water bill would be that much. I don't see her doing anything too much better than what Rahm Emanuel did. We know we have a racist water department. Did she weed those people out of there? My parks, they don't look better than they did. Well, they're the same as when Emanuel was there because he neglected our park. I don't see her doing anything to make me want to vote for her. Regarding Willie Wilson, I think he has the leanings of a Republican. So I cannot vote for him.
But I mean, is he the right-wing Republican or is he the traditional? Well, let me ask you this: is he? Because I hear that about him a lot, but he reminds me of my grandmother. And our grandparents were Republican. Dr. King was a Republican. They were. But I'm saying even then, my grandmama Gertrude believed you get up and you go to work. If you don't work, you don't eat, and all that. I mean, that's a very, very real strain in the Black community now. I mean, I mean, well, stay right there, Renee. I mean, Dr. Starks, Eric, Dr. Starks, do you understand what I mean?
I understand clearly. My grandmother was a Republican. You know, they came out of an era when the Republican Party was active and helped to bring forth the civil rights legislation and the whole bit. Yeah, but I think one of the major criticisms of Mayor Lightfoot is the fact that she promised to bring back the mental health centers, and she didn't. I mean, and Johnson brought that up, and I agree with you, Johnson. That is a major thing because, mental health in the public schools, in the general public, in the Black community is a major issue. And especially as well as suicides. We never heard of suicides at this rate 10, 15 years ago. Now it's a major issue, and mental health is a major issue. So the mental health centers are desperately needed back in the Black community, as well as across every community in the city.
I understand the caller's concern about Willie Wilson's political party affiliation because, yes, some of our, grandparents, great-grandparents were, Republicans, but Republicans today is not the same as Republicans of yesterday.
Absolutely. That is true.
Republicans today people have more of a deeper distrust of Republicans because it has been infused with white supremacy and racism and, of course, Trumpism.
But having said that, Eric, why do you think that he has taken root in the Black community in such a profound way? I mean, because Dr. Willie Wilson resonates with Black people profoundly in this city. Why?
Because of his charity and his generosity.
Okay.
He cares enough to reach out and give money to those in need. He goes to these Black churches, he gave them cash, there were the gas cards. No other person was doing that at the time. But everyone, and let's also admit, he's a success story. Black love when Blacks succeed, when they're a success story. And when he's attacked by the media, Black even rally around them anymore. That's a given.
Okay.
It's a given. And he's always always been an outsider when it comes to politics, and that's a plus as well. You know, there's a deep distrust with the political establishment. Everyone voted for Lori because they felt like she will break that political machine finally.
And there's no doubt that she is one of the smartest people you'll ever meet. Very bright.
Absolutely. But and I think that's why it's important for us to contextualize the times in which we're living. I want us to understand January 6th. January 6th was about much more than Trump. Remember, we had the student debt bubble at the beginning of the 2000s. We have had the housing market collapse. We have lost so many the black middle class has been gutted, not just in Chicago, but all around the country. And we have, and then the banks collapsed on us. We haven't recovered from any of that. We're 2 decades and some change into this new millennium. And guess what? Now it's hit white people. So when you see this mistrust and this distrust of all of the media, of the government, of everything, people are looking for folks who are going to go in and shake up the system. That's why people like President Trump. I'm just saying, they think if someone's going to walk in there and turn over the tables, that's what they want. They want somebody who's going to do that. And so, you know what? I want you guys to come back. And can you stay with me on Facebook Live for a couple of minutes? Just a couple extra minutes. Just a couple. Just a couple. Because I want to get some closing thoughts from you all. Renee, are you still there? Or have you run into class, Madam Renee?
Start working in about a minute.
Oh, okay. Then you get the last 30 seconds, Renee. 30 seconds. All yours.
Well, you know what? Thank you. I just want to say I understand the stuff about Republicans. I have voted for Republicans before, but I cannot support somebody who supports the policies of Bruce Rauner. And I think some of that generosity that Willie Wilson has these days, you might call it electioneering. Well, what would you call it when you're paying people to get their votes, because that seems to be what it is. He didn't live in Chicago, and I have a problem with his factory, too. He has a factory. He gets his gloves and stuff from China. What about all the people that can train over here? What's that saying about give a man a fish, he eats for a day, teach him to fish, he eats for a lifetime?
Well, very quickly, who impresses you in the race?
Over here.
Who impresses you in the race? 10 seconds.
Johnson and Chuy Garcia.
Okay. Well, you know what? They're like running 1 and 2 in some polls, and Paul Vallis doesn't strike your fancy?
No.
Okay. All right. There's so much. I cannot wait to have you guys back. Oh boy, because we are in it. Look, y'all, January 26th, WCPT is going to have this mayoral debate. You don't want to miss it. But boy, things are about to get real hot in Chicago between now and February and now in the spring. Love it. Stay right here on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. And Santita Jackson and friends, I love you, everybody. God bless you. Thank you, board operator, for a great show. I'll see you tomorrow, God willing. Yes, I just wanted to get some closing thoughts from you all. I mean, because, Eric, being the great newspaper man that he is, he just ran it down. I appreciate it, but
reading him.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely love reading him.
But but I love being educated by you, Dr. Starks, because you have this 30,000 foot, as well as you have the view from the weeds and the top of the trees, and I love it.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate it. And you've always taught us to slow down, because when we were kids, we wanted to, are we going to do anything? You're like, we need to find out what happened. First was to
tell Jonathan we've seen him on television, and we're just so glad that he's there, because we know that he's going to make a real difference as a congressman.
Oh, thank you. I'm so proud of him already. He has been, what he did? He walked over, he sits on the aisle, and just knowing, look, this is my brother.
Yes,
so I do know him.
That's where we see him.
And
right.
I said, what are you doing? And I asked him that on the show yesterday. He said, I'm making my way to the other side of the aisle. He said, I might even sit in the middle of the Republican caucus one day. He said, because, no, because it's not a rule that Democrats and Republicans sit together. It's just a tradition. And he said, at the end of the day, we have to, he said, I want to know, he ended up talking to a white congressman who's from Indiana, but who's on the Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky border. And Republican, very pleasant. And Jonathan introduced himself. And as they got to talking, it turns out the man's a physician. And he said, let me tell you something, Congressman. Let me tell you what my passion is. And Jonathan said, what is it? He said, prostate cancer. It is wiping American men out. He said, and it is taking black men out at an unreal rate.
Fast. Very fast.
And he said, would you, and Jonathan said, you mean be interested in working with you on that? Of course. The only way.
But you have to be careful about doing the bipartisan thing.
No. I didn't say the bipartisan thing. And we've been in this a long time. No, just hear me when I say this. No, hear me when I say this, because we know. No, because it's not about just a bipartisan thing. This is about creating relationships. I mean, no one said they were going to vote together all the time, or even one time. But if you don't have a relationship with people, Eric, if you don't have a relationship, and this is something we've learned from Reverend Jackson, because Reverend has gotten along with all manner of people. Dr. Starks has been with Reverend for 50 years. And people, Reverend would walk into a room and they would be hostile to him and they'd walk out and be friendly.
Absolutely.
Because you must first do that.
But you cannot ignore the fact that Congress is a very, very toxic climate right now. And when you are a freshman congressman who don't know the ins and outs, and people will take advantage, especially they will cross you. We've seen it happen when Obama was president.
Eric, the Red Squad. No, the Red Squad targeted our father for death.
Right.
I'm saying you can't do anything else to us now except have a successful assassination attempt, because we've seen it all.
Right. I agree with you. You do need relationships, but as a freshman congressman, you also need to be cautious, not too cautious, but you also have to seek the wisdom, of those who are before you or those who've already been there.
But do you think that he's not done that?
Oh, no, I'm not to the Congressional Black Caucus. And he knows many of them for years.
The advantage I would say that Congressman Jackson has, and this is not about Congressman Jackson, quite frankly, but I will tell you this. This is why it's important for us. That's why Kennedys keep going to Congress and keep going into elective office. They've been there before. Nancy Pelosi was not new to the halls of Congress. Her father was one of the most powerful local politicians in America.
Absolutely.
This was her second home. Black people are not accustomed to that. I think we're the only African-American family who sent not one, but two brothers to the U.S. House of Representatives. I don't think that's ever happened before. So we're not new to this. We're true to this. And so what you do, and then Reverend has taken us with him to places just so that we would learn. I would go to editorial board meetings at the Sun-Times and the Tribune and the New York Times, Eric, when I was 5. I'd be sitting there, my feet couldn't even touch the ground.
Reverend has a relationship with every member of the Congressional Black Caucus. And has known them for years.
And wait a minute, and Republicans too. It was Chuck Percy who brought Ed Brooke to push to make the argument for busing. You got to relate to everybody. And wait a minute, you don't put your principles on the altar. Because don't act as if every Democrat's pulling for you. Every time Reverend Jackson ran for the presidency, Eric, he ran against the party, against it. And they shut us out. And do you know, in 2016, Reverend did not have a seat at the convention. It was a white mayor from North Carolina who was the head of the delegation who tapped Reverend on the shoulder as we were standing on the floor. Michelle Obama was about to come out and speak. And he said, Reverend, I need you. He said, Reverend, please take my seat. My father said, no, that's okay. I'm all right. Now, mind you, the people who were running the convention were people Reverend installed in democratic politics.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And they were running the convention. Absolutely. They were in charge of the party. They wouldn't get him a seat and wouldn't give him a room in a suite. I did not know. I don't know where he was ideologically in the party. He said, Reverend, please take my seat. And Reverend, the second time said, no, I'm okay. And he just stood there. He said, Reverend Jackson, I cannot sit in this seat and let you stand, sir. I can't do it. He said, I'm begging you to take my seat. I can't do it. So I'm just trying to say to you, you're cautious, you're clear, but you're also clear that if you don't speak to people, trust and believe. Eric, behind closed doors, all these people are talking. They are, let's say they're sleeping under the same quilt as our grandmothers would say, but they said something else. They all are. They all get along. Trust and believe.
I'm just saying.
No, I'm just saying to you, when you get to Washington, you will get shocked.
I could just get a word in, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay, I'm just trying to explain to you how it is, baby. That's all.
I know, but I'm all, from a journalist point of view, I'm just saying that when you're fresh from Congress, the focus should be on when you get there, when you get on the floor, the focus is building relationships with your party, making sure that you are connected, strong, and everything. Then
he's doing that too. Honey?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no. What I'm saying to you is, you also have to do. You have to do both and. I have to add to that because I'm not new to this. I'm not speaking to you as a journalist. I'm speaking to you as a journeyman or journeywoman. Been in this all of my life, and you got to get along with people, and people respect you when they understand that you stand, that you're willing to live or die on what you believe. Let me give you this little story. In 1976, when Jimmy Carter ran, and Jimmy Carter was a conservative Democrat, my father was probably the only big name black leader who did not support him. He and Julian Bond. Julian Bond paid a heck of a price for it too. But we were in Chicago doing something else. So Reverend was able to keep on eating and moving. But that Atlanta crew, they went after Julian Bond and he caught hell for it. Over time, after the president won, he and Reverend worked out a relationships, and it became so strong that Reverend became his chief surrogate because President Carter was too unpopular to go campaign for himself by the end of his term. By the summer of 1980, he was so unpopular he couldn't even leave the White House. Reverend became his chief surrogate, and what shocked them was they would book a place for 5,000 people would show up. They then booked a venue for 1,000, 10,000 people would show up because Reverend was that strong at that time. So what Carter said, because you were there. But what President Carter said, I will tell you, Reverend Jackson and I did not get on initially. So we just have some political differences. He said, but you know what? I respect him because he's willing to live for or die for his beliefs. And that's it. And when you have that kind of relationship, when people understand that about you, you're going to be fine. But yes, Jonathan walked over to Marjorie Taylor Greene. How do you do? Matt Gaetz, how do you do? Okay. You're not going to lose doing that.
They know who he is.
Hello.
And they know his family, believe me.
And they know, right? and I'm just saying, it's just not just as a freshman. That's where we have to begin to grow. That's why you have to have second and third and fourth generation people going into a system. That's what the Dailies knew that the night their father died. They didn't sit up and cry. They were sad. You know what they did? They said, these people are plotting to, they're plotting to take us out. The people our father built are plotting to take us out. So the Daily boys had a meeting about what their next steps were going to be, because they had been at the knee of the master. Richard Daley is still the boss. Black people need that too. That's why trying to take out Willie Brown and our kingmakers is very dangerous, because white people don't let their kingmakers get taken out, and they continue to make kings and queens every day. It is not Nancy Pelosi's first turn to the rodeo. If you think she became speaker just because she was friends with Democrats, my friend, I'm telling you, that ain't it. She got along with everybody. She could
And
work
the
out a
Daley
relationship with Mitch
family
McConnell. And pardon me for interrupting you, but I have to give you that because it's not as if I am unknowledgeable.
No, you are. And please remember, the Daley family is still infused at every level in this government, from the city, state, and national levels. They have, because their children have been put in places. So you're absolutely right, Santita. It is a generational thing. So you build from the bottom all the way up.
And they know how to get along with everybody.
Children.
Even when Reverend was
right.
fighting with Mayor Daley, with Richard J. Daley, he would come and help cut the ribbon at the expo. It wasn't like, oh, he can't come here. No. I learned that from Reverend Jackson. While Fox was going after us, Reverend had a relationship with Roger Ailes.
And when the firemen went on strike, who went and negotiated?
With a union that is hostile to us, but historically.
Right.
They didn't even let us get the jobs. You know, I'm just, Eric, I'm just saying, I know I jumped all over you, baby, but you know I love you. but I have to share the benefit.
I'm just keeping quiet.
I know. Okay. You know, because you know when women start going.
We love you and we read you. Believe me.
Oh, look, I mean, that's why I called him, because I have so much respect for him.
Let me just say this. You do need relationships in Congress. They are critical. But when it comes to getting along, you know, in Congress, we all know from the past 20 years, getting along is not been the focus of Congress. We saw how Kevin McCarthy went 16 rounds before he became House Speaker, even in his own party, even within the Democrats. You got the moderate Democrats versus the progressive Democrats. When you are a freshman congressman, you have a target on your back. And I agree that you must have relationships. But I'm just saying strategically, just be wise and just be careful about doing it, because they will cross you.
Well, I was speaking to, and so will the Democrats. That means no. No one has been crossed more by Democrats than Reverend Jackson. Okay, so I'm here to tell you, I wasn't speaking to you not just ideally. I was speaking to you strategically. No. I gotta say this. We can explain, because you know who. I tell you what, Dwight McKee was on the show. And he said, Jonathan, I'm proud of you because you are taking a page from Adam Clayton Powell's notebook, his playbook, because that is how he operated politically, which is how he was able to get all of this money to black schools, for example.
But just like you said, you can get crossed by even Democrats.
Not by even.
You know?
And not by even.
Yeah.
Not by even. You can get crossed by Democrats. I don't say even, because no one has had to fight them more than us. Now let me show you how petty it can get. At the Democratic convention, when Reverend spoke in 1988, he's giving his keynote speech. Everyone knows he's got asthma. Everyone knows that he reacts to the temperature change. We come out, we introduce Reverend, hey, ha. Reverend comes to the lectern, and mind you, you have to go to a rehearsal before you come out there. I mean, earlier in the day, because they adjust the lectern. Every time someone comes to the lectern, they adjust it to your height. I'm 5'7", Jonathan 6 feet, Yusef 6'1", Jesse 5'9". Okay. Jackie was like 5'5" at the time. And so, but they also have an air conditioner so that you won't sweat. Suddenly, when Reverend walked to the lectern, it blew so hard it looked like he was in a windstorm. There's a picture of Jesse in a special edition of Life magazine where he literally was holding a cardboard to that vent. Because my mother said that, absolutely, my mother said they're trying to make him sneeze, so he won't be able to finish his speech. So Jesse, who has asthma also, because none of the stage managers could help us. They're like, we can't turn it off. So we had to sneak off the stage, get a piece of cardboard, and then we had to roll some tape. Well, literally, this is happening while Reverend is speaking. Jesse's holding up the cardboard with his back. He's on the floor. Okay? Honey, let me tell you something. I've not had the knife in my back. I've had the shiv in my chest. And yet we keep going. I get it. But with all due respect, you can tell me nothing about anybody. I've seen an elephant fly, and her panties were pink with ruffles. Yeah, I said it. No, no, you better, and I tell you what, you keep on living. If you think Nancy Pelosi was able to navigate these treacherous waters because she knew everybody and could get anybody on the phone, she wasn't hostile to anybody. You can't make it like that in politics. It does not work.
But I'm not saying create hostility. That's ridiculous. But
what I'm trying to convey to you, Eric, is that, let me just say this. We have been in so many fights down through the years. No, let me just say this to you. We have been in so many fights down through the years. That's the advantage that we have. That we have dealt with so much hostility that my parents had to send my brothers away to boarding school. We have known nothing but enemies. I don't know how people perceive the Jacksons now, but I grew up with the unpopular Jesse Jackson, okay? That's what we grew up with. I grew up with hostile teachers. I had to have almost perfect everything so they wouldn't jam me. I got that.
Yeah. You might want to tell him what happened to you when you went to Harvard. And
as a merit scholar, Harvard, all the top schools reach out to you. And I think you probably heard this story. I've told it a lot. But all the top schools reach out to you. They call you. They come up to the school, the Ivies, and Whitney Young 40 years ago was the top public high school in Chicago.
The top high school in Chicago.
And in the state, everybody was trying to get in. And I knew that I had to have top scores because Walter Jacobson at the time was ubiquitous and huge. He and Bill Curtis were it. Walter Jacobson made his bones going off on Reverend. We had to deal with the blowback of that. So when my brother was 10 or 11, it broke my parents' heart. But my mother insisted. She said, I got to get him out of here. As Jesse Jackson Jr., he will never make it. And my father was devastated. My father said, if I knew when he was born where we were going, I never would have named him after me. I never would have done that. I wouldn't have done that to him. Who wants to send their child away? But they had to do it. So when it came, I'm a senior in high school. I'm a merit scholar. Okay, that's great. And West Point's coming to the house. Annapolis, they're coming to the school. They're coming to the house because they take the people with the top test scores, and because at Whitney Young there were so many of us, they wanted to meet you individually, and they wanted to appeal to you to apply. I already had full scholarship to Howard and the Spelmans. I was good because my mother asked me to get scholarships to college in case the bottom fell out, which was her coded language, Eric. And Dr. Starks was there. He would know this. In case one of these assassination attempts takes, I need you to be able to pay for college. I said, okay.
There you go.
And so I said, okay, so she said, so, and I need you, and I also don't need you to pop up on TV for having bad grades. And I know you won't. So, okay, I come out top 10 of my class. I'm a merit scholar. I got it. And because of my parents' stance on the Palestinians, we started getting a lot of blowback. Okay? So my mother knew that my interview could be sketchy. She said, do you want me? She said, I'd like to go with you. I said, no. Several, Glenn Wharton, Jeff Schwenk, several of us we're getting our interviews today. We're going to take the bus. We've gotten an excuse to leave school early because it's Harvard after all, right? Okay. So we get there, and the pre-interview, My pre-interview lasted much longer than it was supposed to. It was supposed to be about 15 minutes. Mine lasted almost 45 minutes because the pre-interviewer, who was Harvard alum, but young guy in his early 30s, he couldn't reconcile my background. It didn't make sense to him that my father had gone to the University of Chicago, that I lived in South Shore, because he knew that he was familiar with my neighborhood. He couldn't figure out that, okay, you've traveled all over the world. You've lived a few places outside of the country. What did your father do again? He's a minister. Okay, what's the name of his church? He doesn't have a church. Okay, and your mother, what does she do? She is, my mother's a homemaker. My life didn't make sense to him. He hadn't met a Negro like me, even though they exist all around me and you. And so he finally asked me about 45 minutes in, what is your father's name? I told him, he said, oh my God. Let me go speak with Mr. Cohen. I know he wants to meet you. He walks me into the room. Mr. Cohen does not stand to greet me, which shocked me because I had been trained that every time you entered a room as a young lady, a gentleman stood up. That's what I grew up with. He said, I don't like your father or his politics. Let's see about you. Okay. I said, all right, I got it. Okay, got it. And we were off to the races. I couldn't say anything because you don't sass adults. But that's the kind of hostility. That was 1981. I grew up with that hostility. And the first thing after I told my parents what had happened, and my parents were devastated, my mother and father were furious. And when I was re-interviewed, Gene Haytow, who owned Amalgamated Bank, who was a big Harvard alum, he arranged for me to, and Derek Bach, who was the president of the university, they said, well, we're going to get a re-interview. We're sorry that this happened, all this other stuff. They said, well, you know what we're going to do? In the interview, each interview, both of them, they wanted to know if I was going to be independent of my father and his politics. In other words, are you willing to throw your father under the bus to be part of Harvard?
Exactly.
If you don't get into Harvard, where are you going? I said, well, Harvard's not my first choice. And Mr. Cohen said, I don't think you heard me. I said, yes, I did, sir. I said, my father told me that leadership is bred in majority environments. I said, I already have a full scholarship to Howard. I have a full scholarship to Spelman. He said, well, why did you apply? I said, because you all asked. And my father told me I needed to at least have you as an option. Now, mind you, I sat with Bart Giamatti, who ended up becoming the baseball commissioner years later. He was president of Yale at that time when I got in. And he said, I was sitting with him at the Jackie Robinson dinner in New York. He saved a seat for me. He said, I've always wanted to meet you because what happened to you at Harvard was the talk of the Ivies. It was so embarrassing. It was so awful. And he said, see, you got into Yale, no interview, no problem, because you were just qualified. That's how we grew up. And I was not going to, I did not say, well, maybe, if I disagree with my dad, no, they could go straight to the devil on that. Whatever my father stood for, whatever hits he took, the man who worked for Dr. King for $75 a week that he had to raise himself, I was fine with that.
Well, I've got to run, but tell Eric who your classmate was at Whitney Young. Who was now
Michelle Robinson,
internationally known.
Obama, and she learned some things from us. But what I didn't know at the time was that her father was a committeeman for Mayor Daley. I did not know that.
Exactly.
I never knew that. So so I get it. I mean, and pardon me for talking over you, but there are some things about politics, with all due respect. Jonathan's not a first timer in Congress. His brother was there. He's not a first time. We're not a first timer. We've lived with the Secret Service for 2 years.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, we are not novices in politics at all. And we know enough.
And the Secret Service followed Reverend Jackson everywhere he went and had a car parked in the driveway.
No. They wired up the house. They had a trailer that was put in our yard. And I would see them mysteriously all over Washington when I'd be places. Because we were not their protectees. But they took some extraordinary measures to make sure that nothing happened to us. I get it. But I'm just trying to let you know there's some folks who ain't new to this rodeo. Some people have been living in this zip code for a minute, Eric. And we are among them. And we need some more black folks who've been in this zip code. Place is cold. There are pictures of Nancy Pelosi has a picture of her with John Kennedy. And so does Bill Clinton. I mean, wow. So I love you. Did Eric hang up? I think what did you say? He's going to be quiet. But I just have to. Eric, you still there, sweetheart? I'm going to let you have the last word.
I'm still here. No, I wouldn't do that to you.
I know you wouldn't. I was having fun with you, Eric, but you don't know me yet.
Yeah, I didn't take that like that though.
No, I know, no, but you don't know me yet. I know. First of all, I know Miss Lavelle. She wouldn't tolerate you hanging up on me. Hello. But what do you want? I want you to come back and. Oh, because I love her.
And why would you bring Miss Lavelle in?
Because I love her.
That's not cool.
Because I love her.
That's not cool.
Because I love her.
That's not cool.
Because I love her. Because I love her. I'm not bringing her in. I'm having fun with you yanking your chain. I love her.
Well, I don't see anything fun about it.
No. She is my mother's. Just calm down. She is my mother's very, very dear friend, and we support the Crusader newspaper.
That.
No, what I'm saying to you is we support the newspaper. I know
Michelle Robinson went to school with you.
That's something I never even discussed. I don't discuss that. I found out that I was in her book Becoming. I don't discuss her. I don't, because I protect relationships that I've had with people. I don't. That's not even a point of discussion with me. People bring that to me, and I deflect because I don't discuss that. I don't discuss any of that. That was 40 years ago.
Well, I just want to know, just like you said, I don't know you, and I just want you to know that you don't know me
at all.
And I'm just going to just put it out there. I just did not appreciate the way I was shut out of this conversation and how you shut me down. I did not appreciate that. And I'm just going to be upfront with you. I do not want that to ever happen again.
With all due respect,
Never.
It will not. That having been said, I want you to understand this about me. I'm very passionate, and I was going to let you back in. Okay? Anyone who let me say this to you, Eric. Let me say this to you. And this
is what I'm talking about.
No. If I may finish here, so that I could.
Santita, I've been on many shows. I never felt so disrespected like this.
And let me say, I never meant you. And we're still on Facebook.
Let me finish.
Okay.
I know you're the host, and I know this is your show, but I am your guest. You respect your guest. You let them speak. You be open-minded. You were not that. Any of that. I don't appreciate, and I'm very shocked.
And may I finish? May I finish here? Because I am known.
Always let you finish.
I am known for being open-minded. I am known for letting people speak, and maybe I was being a little cheeky with you, but I also and I will not. No. Because let me say this to you. Because allow me to apologize to you, Eric.
I am not gonna be allowed to let myself be disrespected.
Eric,
like
may I apologize to you publicly? May I apologize? Are you going to allow me to do that?
Yes. If you're sincere,
let me say this to you. I don't play those games, Eric, and I am sincere, and so we don't need to.
Either.
No, Eric.
I don't either, Santita.
Eric,
I'm really ticked off.
I understand that.
Bring my boss's name into this? No. You messing with her? No,
I'm not even messing with you. I'm not even messing with you. And anyone who knows me, and who first of all, bringing the reason I met you was through her. I got your number from her. All I'm saying to you is, charge it to my head, not to my heart. I would never bring anyone into my presence, let alone to my radio show, to insult you.
You mentioned her name.
Of course I would. And I will always mention her name. I mentioned her name before you came on the air.
What is she? Because you are a
very.
May I
you are
finish?
very
May I
smart woman.
finish? May I
always let
finish?
you finish. You just never let me finish.
No, let me.
You just never
I
let
was
me finish.
I was
That's the
trying to
problem I have.
apologize to you,
just don't
Eric.
get it.
Eric, say what you need to say.
Didn't you? In action, not just in words, but in action.
Eric, what do you need to say?
Start listening to me. Stop disrespecting me. That's how I will forgive you. Don't just apologize in words, but in action. Actions speak louder than words, Santita.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been talked down like this before on any show.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been on a lot of shows. It's like I was on Can TV yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just shocked that this is you who I'm talking to. I'm just shocked. And if I do tell Miss Lavelle that your name came up and how we'll have that conversation too. But I don't appreciate this one bit. And I'm letting you know straight up. If I'm ever on your show again, please don't do this again. That's all I ask.
All I ask of you,
whether we're on the air or not.
All I ask of you is this, because I don't have a reputation for being rude or unkind to people. I have quite the opposite reputation. Indeed, I am known for being very open-minded, being very fair, and I'm also known for being passionate. And I thought that I could do that with you. Now, that having been said, what I was trying to convey to you, first of all, accept my apology and charge anything, any offense to my head and not to my heart, because I wouldn't bring you. I don't have anything to prove with you or with anyone. I don't have that. I was merely trying to convey our experiences to you, number one. But no, first, accept my apology. And I don't offer apologies out of thin air. I don't need to, I can turn this over to Miss Lavelle and turn it over to you. Anyone can go on Facebook and on YouTube and see this whole exchange, because that's where we are. Okay? And I keep this going sometimes just after the show, just so that we can talk. But I would never, ever, ever be disrespectful to you. I kept going because Dr. Starks, who was working for Reverend at the time when I was in college, when I was on my way to college, he remembered what had happened with me with Harvard. So he wanted me to explain that. He was the one who brought up Michelle Robinson Obama. I don't even discuss her, because she is someone that I've known, and I don't discuss people that I know. So she's not a bragging piece for me at all. And I was the maid of honor in her wedding. I don't discuss that. I just don't do that. I don't feel the need. I was merely trying to convey some experiences to you. So disrespecting you, that's not what I was doing. I've had exchanges like this before, and we have been able, if you don't mind, let me complete this. I've had exchanges like this before, and I've not had this reaction. And I'm sorry that you feel this way. Finishing what I was saying, Eric. Eric, I was finishing what I was saying.
Santina, I'm trying. Hey, Santina, you
Santita.
apologize. I forgave you. Santita, you apologize.
Yes.
I forgave you. I'm trying to tell you how you not what you said, how you made me feel. Okay.
And as I said to you, please charge it to my head, not to my heart, because I never meant to make you feel small.
There you go. But you did. We all have.
I never meant to, and I'm sorry about it.
And like I said, I forgive you. But see, you made a statement that was not true.
What statement? No, what statement was untrue?
You said, you told me I did not disrespect you. You did disrespect me.
I did. No, let me be clear. That was not my intention.
Okay. How this came about? Let me speak. This came about when you said your brother was going to go into Congress. He's going to reach out and get
No, I said he
along,
has already done that.
Get Republicans. All I said was just be careful. The political climate today is so much more toxic in Washington than it used to be. And that says a lot, because it's been toxic in the past and this and that. But today it's just more different. It's even more intense. you know. And then all of a sudden you're like, no, this and this. And then I tried to explain, and then you just totally shut me down. And this is supposed to be an open forum where we have an exchange of thoughts and ideas.
What I was trying to convey to you was our body of experiences. I didn't say what he was going to do. He was on my show yesterday, and he was on Keep Oprah Live on Sunday. And he was explaining that that is what he had already done. And I was trying to explain to you that we grew up in a hostile environment. People who are our allies have been hostile to us. We have never known a day in which we have not been surrounded by enemies and saboteurs. I was trying to convey that to you. And as I said before, if I offended you in any way, charge it to my head and not to my heart, because that is not what I would ever, ever, ever do to anyone, ever. I like to have a little bit of fun. I like to go back and forth. But that having been said, I got it. Okay?
No problem.
All righty.
No problem.
So Eric Johnson, everybody, from the Crusader newspaper. Read him. He has some brilliant, brilliant insights into politics in Chicago and nationally. Blessings to you. Eric?
Thank you.
Okay, do you have anything else you'd like to say? I was trying to let people know who you are, for those who might have missed this.
No, I'm fine. Thank you very much. All is forgiven, no problem.
Thank you. Have a great one. Hey, everybody. It has been wonderful being with you all today. I can't wait to be with you tomorrow. We'll have legal Q&A with C.K. Hoffler. I wonder what we will talk about. I wish we had been I promise you I'm going to bring April Prayar and Tanya Nance back on so that we can talk about the politics of hair, particularly for Black women. That is something that we really, really, really need to dig down into and talk about. And I know many of you wanted to find out about how you could get in touch with Attorney Prayar. Please go to hairrelaxerharm.com, and you'll be able to connect to her and to all of her resources, because many of us who've gotten relaxers and who continue to get them are really putting ourselves in harm's way, and we do not know it. So everybody, I love you. It's been a joy to be with you today. And God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. Board operator, thank you for a great, great show. God bless.